Get started. Welcome to the May 27th, 2021 regular meeting for the Code Enforcement Board of Seminole County. We're going to start with a roll call followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Then we'll swear in the witnesses, and then we'll go from there. I'll explain what happens after that. So if I could have Madam Clerk conduct a roll call.
Rob Wolfram,
Here.
Mike Bass,
Here.
Dudley Bates,
Here.
Lori Patton,
Here.
Don Peterson,
Here.
Dennis Warren,
Here.
Jane Hames, and Yvette Brown. Here.
Thank you. And if everyone could stand for Pledge of Allegiance, and if you are going to be speaking today, remain standing after that, please. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you all just raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth? Do you know the testifying? You need to be sworn in as well. You need to raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to start with recommending that we revise the agenda in order to take care of everyone that has showed up today, followed by the other cases after that, which would then begin, my recommendation begin with case number 20-51 CEB Clifton and Lois Carter. That's on page 6, followed by on page 8, case number 20-63 and 20-64, Dianetta Willis. On the same page, to be followed by case number 20-66 CEB, Wayne D. Denson. To be followed by, on page 9, case number 20-68 CEB, Barbara B. Fredericks. Followed by, on the same page, 20-71 and 72 and 73, which are located on that page and page 10 as well. Sturman Williams, followed by on page 11, case number 20-75 and 76, CEB Beatrice Ash, followed by on page 12, case number 20-77 and 78, CEB Vedanand Singh, followed by on page 14, case number 18-70 CEB Horace Orr et al., followed by on page 15, case number 19-177 CEB Guadalupe and Marina Nieves, followed by on page 20, case, one moment, excuse me, that's not there. Excuse me, that'd be page 7, followed on page 17. Case number 20, give me one moment here just to make sure. Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, the next case that I am citing is on page 17. It's case number 20-02 CEB Bessie S. Ziegler Life Estate. Followed by case number 20-03 CEB on page 18, Delwyn D. Litchfield. and ending with the present respondents on page 19, case number 20-10 CEB Michael Diaz. It's my recommendation to get a motion to take those cases in that order to be followed by what's left.
Move the revised agenda.
We have Mr. Bates makes a motion to revise the agenda, followed by Mr. Peterson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So that's what we'll do. Starting in that order, I will call you up today to the respondents. When you come up, if you could have a seat at that table there, I'll make sure that we have your name, that you were sworn in, and then the code enforcement officer will give their presentation. You will have the opportunity to give your presentation, and then the board members here may have questions for you, and we'll make a final decision. So that's how it's going to work. Again, beginning with case number 20-51 on page 6, 20-51 CEB, Clifton and Lois J. Carter. If you are here for that case, if you could please step up to the podium. Yes, ma'am. Either one of those two seats. And if I could have each of you state your name and your relationship to this case.
Sharon Carter.
And
Lois and Clifton were my in-laws.
thank you. Sir, your name?
Willie Carter.
And you're the son.
I'm my son.
Thank you. Officer Hurd?
Dorothy Hurd, South Region Code Enforcement Officer for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. For the record, I am submitting a copy of this presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case 2051 CEB Clifton J. Carter and Lois J. Carter. Initial inspection on this property, the violation charged is at 111 Plymouth Avenue in Seminole County, Florida. The violation charged is useless waste material or any items no longer fit to be used, including but not limited to yard trash, paper, cardboard, metal, lumber, concrete, rubble, bedding, household furniture, appliance, clothing, etc. Initial inspection was August 22nd of 2019 with notices to the respondent September 9th, 9/24, and 10/15/19. Compliance date 9/20, 10/11, and 11/01/19. Several follow-up inspections. My last inspection was the 26th, and the useless material remained on the property, and this is a recurring violation. This image was taken by myself on August 22nd, 2019. These images were taken by myself on August 27, 2019. These images were taken by myself on 2/20/20. And these images were taken by myself on May 11, 21. This is a photo of the posting that was when it was posted on May 11. Based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case, 2021 CEB, it is determined that the respondent, Clifton Carter and Lois J. Carter, they are the owners of the property located at 111 Plymouth Avenue in Seminole County, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3A. I'm asking the board to order the respondents to correct the violation on or before midnight of June 11, 2021, by removing the accumulation of rubbish from the property. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $100 per day be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Hurd? Seeing none, folks, this is your opportunity to respond to what she has said and make any requests you may have of the board.
Well, Ms. Carter was living at the property for a couple of years because of he had a stroke, heart attack, there was an attempt to clean everything up. One of the nephews got a lot of the stuff removed, but not everything. And subsequently, he was shot and in the hospital. Now he's disabled. So that put a halt to a lot of the stuff being removed.
Okay, you see the recommendation from the officer is to have this taken care of by June 11th, or there'll be a $100 fine per day. So that's sort of what we're contemplating.
Yeah, actually, I just removed the notice because he's not living on the property. I come over to check the mail, and I found the notice in the yard, and I took it to him for him to, have a look at it.
Do you feel that that timeframe's doable? You can get this done by then?
June 11th.
Yes, ma'am.
If we could have just a little more time,
Let the
maybe
board know what your request is, and they'll consider it.
if we could have a few more weeks, that way I can get arrangements to have everything moved and cleaned up.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah. How much time do you need? You say a couple of weeks, which would be about June 20th. Do you need more time than that, you think? Because we want to get it done one time, a one-time deal, not to keep coming back. It's a burden on you that way. And if we can just make a decision on what day,
Oh, at least to the end of the month, end of June.
end of June? Okay. How about, can you do it in 4 weeks? So it'd be July?
Yes. That would
So,
be good.
you want to call it, I don't know what the date is without looking at my calendar, but we have a meeting July 22nd. That's a Sunday, July 11th. So, I think it could be done by, say, the end of July?
Yes, the end of July.
July or June?
June. That's-
June 30th.
We are in what month?
We're in
She
May.
said 2 weeks more. That'd put her 28, just to say July,
Yeah, the
June
end of
30th.
July.
June
I,
30th.
may I speak? I
Yes,
can,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
end of July, that's a long time. And it's been this property, and actually it's worse than that, than what it is on the pictures. I think that's an extra long time. The end of July, June, okay, I can give them a couple more weeks. But for that property to sit in the condition that it's in, that's an extra long time for me, but it's up to the board.
No, thank you for sharing that.
It is a long time, but I don't want to have to keep coming back to it.
Well, it's been like that since 2019. He's had, or they've had, a year and some to get it taken care of, and that's a lot. But it's the board's pleasure.
Conversation?
I mean, she asked for 2 weeks. That should be plenty. 2 weeks is the 28th. So if you want to make it the last day of the month, fine, but I'm not going to agree with anything less than 30, than the end of June, personally. That's just my feelings. And they've had since 2019 to get this done.
A long
Another
time.
month after that ain't gonna make this and get it done any quicker. So
Okay, so you're thinking the end of June.
June 30th is the latest.
Fair enough.
I make a motion, we accept officer's recommendation with the change of compliance date being June 30th.
Second.
There you go.
Motion by Mr. Bass, second by Mr. Wolframe. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's what we've done. They've extended the date past the 11th until the 30th You need to make sure you get it taken care of. You need to call her as soon as you get that done, and it's taken care of. Okay?
Okay,
Okay, thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
That brings us to, on page 8, case number 2063 CEB and 2064 CEB. Once you get seated, sir, if you'd state your name and confirm you've been sworn in.
David Willis, Auntie Darnella.
And your relationship to this case?
That's my auntie.
Oh, okay. You've been sworn in, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. Officer Bavaro.
Thank you. Officer Barrow, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. For the record, a copy of this PowerPoint presentation has been submitted to the clerk as Exhibit 1. It's case 2063 CEB, Dianetta L. Willis. The property is located at 2445 East 20th Street. Violation charges Seminole County Land Development Code, Chapter 30, Part 30, Section 30.1349E, which is all fences shall be maintained in the original upright condition. The initial inspection was 8/28/2019 with me and a deputy sheriff on scene. The initial problem was for several vehicles being operated in the roadway. The deputy was addressing those issues. Simultaneously, we gave him a verbal notice of violation to remove all the stuff from the right-of-way, which you'll see in additional images. So we issued a formal notice of violation on 11/19/2019, compliance dates of 9/28/2019 and 12/10/2019. Our most recent inspection on 5/26 of this year revealed that the violation had remained. The images you're about to see accurately depict the violations on the dates in which they were taken, this one being on 10/25/2019. Another image of the fence on 12/18/2019 with broken and missing pickets. Another image on 12/18/2019. This was on 3/13/2020. 3/30 of 2020 as well. 4/21/2020. And then the most recent on 5/26/2021, where the violations remain. I did speak to the planning manager regarding a repair that was done to the fence with plywood. It's not something that would be acceptable for material the same type of condition. So I'm sure Mr. Willis is going to bring that up, that he did attempt to repair a section of the fence with plywood, but according to the planning manager, that's not going to be sufficient. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case, it is determined that the respondent is the owner of record at the property located at 2445 East 20th Street, in possession and control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Part 30, Section 30.1349E. We request the board issue an order for compliance on June 10th, 2021. In order to do so, they must remove or replace the fence. If they fail to do so, a fine of $50 a day be imposed. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Bass.
If it pleases the chair, could we go ahead and hear the next case with the same respondent? please?
Sure. I'll do that. Any other questions? Okay. Being the same respondent, Mr. Bavaro, go into the second case. We'll let you respond to both of these different violations in a moment.
Thank you, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, Code Enforcement, Vincent Bavaro, Sanford area. This is case 2064 CEB, Dianetta L. Willis. The property is located at 2445 East 20th Street. Violations charged of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3A, which is rubbish, essentially. The initial inspection, again, was on 8/28/2019, where a verbal warning was issued. A follow-up notice, formal notice of violation issued on 11/19/2019. Compliance dates of 9/28/2019 and 12/10/2019. Most recent inspection revealed the violations remained on 5/26/2021. Images you're about to see accurately depict the violations on the dates in which they were taken. This one on 10/25/2019. As you can see, the tree debris on the pile on the property. Several automotive parts and trash and rubbish, a kiddie pool, for example, on 12/18/2019. On 12/18/2019. Again on 3/13/2020. Image on 3/13/2020 again. 4/21/2020. And if you see in this image, it did get corrected a little bit, and the side gets cleaned up, but then by the next inspection, or a month goes by, kind of more stuff accumulates. So on 5/26/2020, there's a truck bed on the left side, there's a used tire almost in the ditch, and then automotive parts and such, including a lawnmower laying outside there. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in case 2064 CEB, it's determined that the respondent is the owner of record located at 2445 East 20th Street in possession and control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3A. We request the board issue an order for compliance on June 10, 2021. In order to comply, they must remove the rubbish and trash from the property or a fine of $50 a day be imposed. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Bavaro? Seeing none, sir, this is your opportunity to speak to these two issues. We've got two issues. One we'll call the fence issue. The other we'll call the rubbish issue. You need to address both of those to whatever degree you want, but that's what we're here to discuss, and you've seen the recommendations.
Okay, well, you know, the stuff he's saying been cleaned up. In the gate, I ain't know you had to put the other stuff on there, so I'll make it right. It's simple.
You're good with the dates? You're good with the dates that we have?
I'm good with it.
Okay. Any further questions?
So on the fence, I got to put what on it?
Get with him after this hearing, and he'll answer whatever questions you have.
Okay.
Anybody have a motion on, first of all, take them one case at a time.
Just
Yeah.
for the board's education, he's going to need a permit for the fence, and so that might take a little more time than June 10th. So just something to consider when you're making your determination on the time on that case. Perhaps the rubbish can be done by that deadline, but the permit might take a little
I
bit.
believe the rubbish already cleaned up. I don't.
So, shall we give consideration to the permit issue here?
So,
It doesn't look like the officer has had that discussion with the respondent, so he may not understand the process, which is not something you all need to get into with him, but I would encourage the gentleman to speak to the officer about the permitting process.
So I got to have a permit to do the gate?
Replace the fence.
Yes. Or take it down, but he needed a demo, no?
I don't believe you need a demo permit. The issue was that the section of fence and gate that was
It's
replaced with
open
the
gate.
plywood was
Yeah.
not in such condition that it needed to be replaced by all plywood. I understand a couple of pickets here and there does not require a permit, but in this case, it appears that Mr. Willis removed most of the fence, replaced that with plywood, so I would recommend that a permit be pulled, or at least speak to the building division regarding the possibility of a permit needed.
Or remove the whole thing without a permit.
Right. I understand Mr. Willis at one point did not want us to remove or to go back in his backyard fenced area. I think by removing the fence, it would expose stuff. So I don't know if that's an avenue he would like to pursue or not.
is it reasonable to assume you could get a permit to do that in, say, 2 weeks?
I'm not the expert. I don't know what the
Can't speak for the county.
building division's process is. You know, I would be in favor of extending the fence issue a few more weeks so that a permit can be pulled if applicable, but I think the rubbish should be issued rather quickly.
I'd make a motion that we, on item number 20-63, which has to do with the fence, that we accept Officer Rivera's recommendation as stated, except for extending it to June 30th.
Second. Go ahead.
I got a question in regards to the permitting. If we give him a deadline and he's applied for the permit but has not been issued the permit to replace the fence, then where do we stand if we make a decision on this?
That's all right. Let him keep moving towards compliance, and then once he's in compliance, he can come back if any fine has accrued. I think June 30th is reasonable.
And it would be, I mean, I'm sure from Officer Rivera's position, it'd be good to communicate with him what's going on if you do get held up for some reason. Is that fair, Officer?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've been in communication on 3 or 4 occasions. He was the person that I had issued the statement of violation request for hearing and the posting for this property. I drive by quite often. He sees me out there.
So we have a motion to extend the date to June 30th. Is there a second to that motion?
Yeah,
You had one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who had it?
that was me.
Oh, Mr. Peterson. Okay, motion by Mr. Bass, second by Mr. Peterson to accept staff's, find there was a violation, accept staff's recommendation, however, extending the timeframe for compliance to June 30th. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that's what we've done in that case. You understand, you've got to the 30th. You need to get a permit and get that thing moving along. That's the date you got, and then fines kick in. That's on that one. The second case, number 20-64, that's the rubbish case. We've heard both sides.
We accept Officer Rivera's recommendation as stated.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bass, second by Mr. Wolfram, to accept staff's recommendation, which has a compliant date of June 10th, or $50 per day fines after that. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So what we've done there, you've got till June 10th to get the rubbish done. If you said you've already got it done, make sure that he looks at it and approves it. Call him, make sure you understand.
He came and took the pit, they ought to know that's done.
Okay, then, sounds like you're good. That's between you and him. Main thing I want to advise you here, in the future,
Yeah.
these fines kick in automatically. You don't get the grace period that you've had so far since 2019 until now, just so you're aware of that, and your aunties are
So
aware.
can I extend the gate out to the road?
Can you extend it out to the
Yeah,
road?
if I get a
That's the question for
permit.
permitting, I think.
That's up to the building department, I know.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I doubt it,
extend-
but you can ask him.
All right,
Thank you for coming in today.
okay.
Brings us to the case right beneath that one on the same page. Agenda item number 12, case 20-66 CEB, Wayne D. Denson, 3431 Huey Street, Sanford, Florida, 32771. Sir, can you state your name and confirm you've been sworn in?
Been sworn in, Wayne Denson.
Oh, thank you. Officer Bavaro,
Thank you.
floor is yours.
Officer Bravo, Summit County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. For the record, a copy of this PowerPoint presentation has been submitted to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case 2066 CEB, Wayne D. Denson. Property is located at 3431 Huey Street. Violation charge of Summit County Land Development Code, Chapter 30, Part 7, Section 30.122, which is the uses permitted. The initial inspection was on 10/16/2019. Several notices were issued. Compliance date, most recent compliance date was 1/23/2020. Our most recent inspection on 5/26/2021 revealed that the violations had remained. I did meet with Mr. Denson on several occasions, the first being on 10/29. He was on site, or we had met on site. There was some concern that somebody was occupying the shed that was on property. Mr. Denson explained to me that there once was a structure on this residence. It had burnt down, I believe, and it kind of, somebody may or may not have been crashing in the shed. I believe that has been resolved. We offered Mr. Denson some assistance as far as different organizations and grants available by the county to possibly rebuild his home. We did make a determination that the shed can remain on the property because it's what's called a legal non-conforming use. The primary structure burnt down, the secondary structure still remains, and that, from my understanding, is still allowed. So all the images and violations are aside from the shed. So the images you're about to see accurately depict the violations on the dates in which they were taken. This one on 1/8/2020, where you can see a tractor, some concrete debris is being stored on the property. I believe it's important to note Mr. Denson did admit to operating a business from this location for the past 25 years, so you'll see trailers and such from his landscaping company also on property. So at 1/29/2020, we got another image on 4/21/2020. 6/3/2020, you see a couple trailers still remain on property. This is the notice of posting for this hearing on 5/13/2020. The tractor remained. There was some dirt brought in. Again, the concrete bricks still remain on property. So according to the code, if this property does not have a primary structure, no accessory use is allowed, such as storage of any type of vehicles, material, trailers to be included on this property. So that's just to clarify, that's what this violation is. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in case 2066 CEB, is determined that the respondent is the owner of record at 3431 Huey Street in possession and control of property and in violation of Seminole County Land Development Code, Chapter 30, Part 7, Section 30.122. Recommend the board issue an order for compliance on June 10th, 2021. In order to comply, you must remove all property from the lot with exception of the shed, which is illegal non-conforming use. If he fails to comply, a fine of $50 a day be imposed. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Bavaro? Seeing none, sir, this is your chance to respond to the violation here.
Okay, I only met this guy out there one time. He talking about he met me out there several times. He didn't. He met me out there one time. But I'm in the process of building my home. I need to pull the septic permit from down there. All my building permits already ready to be picked up.
Okay, if I understand him right, it's all the things that are on that property. It doesn't have anything to do with the septic. It's the trailers and everything
Right,
we
the
saw.
blocks
He
and
said that
stuff.
he's in the process of getting built, he's getting those permits.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
He's got it rolling to get a house rebuilt on there.
Got it.
He's just
Okay,
telling
then-
us what
Right.
he's done so far to get that ball rolling.
Right,
That's what
thank
I
you.
understood.
And my permit for the septic is the only thing I'm waiting on. Yeah.
Questions for Mr. Boardman?
That's not the issue we have here. The issue we have here is the things that are on the property are in violation
Yes,
of the
but
code
it's for
enforcement.
building. It's for building a house. The blocks.
Officer Bavaro, all those things construction material?
He had made mention, and we met on two separate occasions, but he had made mention of his house burning down, and he had wanted a check from Seminole County for $125,000 to replace his home. He has said that, he on 1/26/2021, he said he was going to get a permit and begin construction on the home. I checked this morning in the parking lot before this hearing, and I did not see a new permit issued. The last one was issued in 2015.
And that was January, he told you that? Did you say?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, it was January?
On 1/26/2021.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm not aware of any other progression made as far as building a home. Obviously, if he has a permit to rebuild a home or to build a new home, construction material would be allowed to remain on property. Again, he's explained to me that over the last 25 years, he's operated his landscaping business from that property, not anything to do with rebuilding a home. There are some concrete blocks. I see that there's some fill that was brought in. That may be associated with building a new home, but it would be my recommendation, unless a permit has been pulled to rebuild a home or to start construction, that material would still be a violation.
And you said the permits you have are for a septic tank, not a home?
Permit for the building, but I can't pick up my building permit until my septic permit being pulled. I
And
just talked to Ms. Mary Howard today. She said to check back with her Tuesday to make sure she get everything done, because they have to send a locator out there to locate stuff so she can go out there.
when did you pull the permit?
I've been pulling a permit ever since around about, it was in February. Not February, no, I'm sorry, April.
April for this October 2019
It only tells me if a
issue.
tells me if an application's done.
I got a question for
Mr.
the
Wolfram.
officer.
Yes.
So it's clear in my mind, irregardless if he gets a permit for the house or not, the violation has nothing to do with that. You're telling us that the particular trailers and so forth that are on the property is the violation at this point, along with the somewhat construction debris.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It's not solely construction debris that's on the property, and by pulling a building permit, we would then allow construction debris to be on the property. This is kind of two-faced. One, he has trailers, landscaping equipment, et cetera. I believe there was a porta potty on the property at one time, and then in addition to the other construction materials.
What's there today? What's there right now?
We went out on the 26th, I believe there was still a trailer. Can you go back to the last picture? There was still a trailer there. There were still piles of concrete brick on the property. There were several other, the trailers on the left, the concrete pile on the right. So there's still several things there. I didn't see the porta potty this time, but
As far as the materials, were they there before he pulled this permit or after?
those
Are they part of-
materials, I believe, have been there since the start or near the start of this case. The concrete, you can see in that picture, that those bricks, those have been there for a significant amount of time.
So they're likely not part of the septic tank, if there is a septic tank construction going on?
He hasn't gotten his septic permit yet, and
Well,
that is what's keeping him from getting the building permit.
I thought he
That's
applied
not-
for that, and that's keeping him from getting the building permit. I thought that's what he brought there.
No.
No?
The way, and Mr. Denson, please correct me if I'm misunderstanding. My understanding is everything's being held up by you getting the septic permit. And
Right.
that once you get the septic permit, then you should get everything else and it all should start rolling.
Yes, ma'am.
And why don't you have the septic permit?
Because of Ms. Mary, I paid them the money 2 Mondays ago, and I thought they maybe had the one out there and did everything, but I called it today, they hadn't done nothing. They hadn't
you're
done-
saying you
but she
applied
gave-
for it, you
She
don't
gave
have
me a permit number. She gave me the permit number, and it's 21-0551N. But
I'm sorry, I am personally familiar with the headbanging that goes on trying to get permits and building things in Seminole County. So I'm sympathetic to this gentleman. I get it. I've tried to do a building project a few years ago, and I thought I was going to lose my mind. So I feel you. Do you think you'd be able to get all that shaken out in a couple weeks?
it all depends on Ms. Mary.
know
I
Miss
just have to
Mary.
wait on her. Ms. Mary Howard, the only lady I got to wait on. That's the only permit stopping me from picking up my building permits.
I'd like to give him some time to get that shaken out. I promise you, it is not from a lack of diligence getting Seminole County building permits stuff to do stuff.
Mr. Bass, you jump.
I'd like to make a motion. I will preface my motion with this. Number one, the building permit has nothing to do with this. Also, Bavaro has already stated that there's items on that, whether he gets a building permit or not, that still create the violation.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Correct.
Given that, I'm going to make the motion that we accept Officer Bavaro's presentation as submitted, and I'm going to recommend that you, if that passes, that you get with Officer Bavaro, find out what items need to be dealt with, whether you build this building or not. Whether you get a permit or not is not predicated upon what we do here, and we're not involved in that. That's not our problem. We appreciate the problem you're dealing with. It has nothing to do with us. You're violation over and above what may be building materials out there. So for that reason, I'm making a motion that we accept Officer Bavaro's presentation as submitted and go forward.
I second.
I understood Officer Bavaro to say that this wouldn't be an issue if he had a permit.
That's not what he said at all.
No, ma'am. So some of the material that's on property in question, for example, the cinder blocks, if somebody had an active building permit, we would not issue a notice of violation because they had a pile of cinder blocks that they're going to use to construct a house. The other items listed on the property, the trailers, for example, the tractor, that cannot be there until a primary structure CO issue has been issued. It is ready to move in. Then you can bring in your boats and your trailers and your tractors and secondary uses. But without a primary structure, in this case it burned down, all the other secondary uses should have ceased with exception of the shed, which is illegal non-conforming use.
So it's 50/50. I understood some of it, but not all.
Okay. Any other discussion? Oh, we have a motion by Mr. Bass, second by Mr. Wolfram to accept staff's recommendation as presented. Is there any more discussion on this by anyone? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we've accepted staff's recommendation. You've got until June 10th. Once you get this other stuff out of the way, things will sort of change gradually. He can tell you how that works. But at this point, you've got till June 10th, so
To do what there now?
he'll tell you, but basically you're removing the stuff that's out there, or the fines kick in from that point on. Moving the trailers, moving the cinder blocks,
Unless he has a permit.
unless you have a
Everything
permit,
is-
and then the cinder blocks, I think.
Everything with the exception of the shed.
If he gets a permit, what
He
Mm-hmm.
can
gets
stay?
a permit, his cinder blocks can stay, right?
Right. Is he going to get a building permit by the time?
He can explain everything.
Okay.
Once you get this thing taken care of, call him and make sure he sees it.
Okay, now, I don't know how long it's gonna take them to go out there and deal with, because I can pick up my blueprints.
They're right around the corner, but you can go in and ask him and tell him the situation.
Yeah,
Ask him if they can speed it up, maybe. I don't know. That's between you and them.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Denson, for
All right,
coming in
thank
today.
you.
Brings us to, on the next page, case number 20-68 CEB, Barbara B. Fredericks. Ma'am, once you get seated, if you could state your name and confirm you've been sworn in.
Yes, I have been sworn in, and my name is Barbara Fredericks.
Thank you. Officer Hill, your case.
Officer Hill, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. For the record, has submitted a copy of my PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case number 2068 CEB, Barbara Fredericks, located at 230 Scarborough Cove in Seminole County. Violation charge is Seminole County Code Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3F, stagnant pool. My initial inspection was on July 27, 2018, with notices to the respondent on August 1st, 2018, a verbal on August 27th, 2018, September 18th, 2018, a verbal on October 18th, 2018, May 2nd, 2019, and another verbal on May 13th, 2019, multiple compliance dates. Follow-up inspection, my most recent one was conducted yesterday, and the results of my inspection is the violation of a stagnant pool remains on the subject property. These photos were taken on my initial inspection on July 27, 2018. The complaint came in from a neighbor in reference to a cat had fallen in from the top of the pool enclosure and drowned in her pool. This photo was taken on September 13th, 2018. This photo was taken on May 1st, 2019. This photo was taken on July 3rd, 2020. This one was taken on May 26th, 2021. Again, yesterday. That was a close-up of the water. The suggested recommendation is based on testimony presented in case 2068 CEB is determined that the respondent, Barbara Fredericks, is the owner of record located at 230 Scarborough Cove in Seminole County, in possession of the control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3F. It is further recommended the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of July 26, 2021. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must remove the stagnant water from the pool. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $250 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. When this case initially was opened back in 2018, we had, Ms. Fredericks had some other code violations, which she did come in compliance with. And we have talked over the past few years about her pool. She's had some health issues, and so I've tried to give her as many extensions as I can. Back in October 2019, we had a conversation in reference to reaching out to her daughter. I asked her if her daughter knew knew of the violation on the property. She said she did not. I told her if this did not come into compliance, it would be a $250 a day fine, which she was not aware of was going to be that expensive. So I encouraged her to reach out to family to see if they could help. She had said she did not want to reach out to her daughter because her daughter had already helped her with some other issues, mortgage and other payments that she needed to make. I did speak with the daughter yesterday. Somebody was able to provide me with a phone number with the daughter. She did state that she had a conversation a year ago with her mother in reference to the pool, and they had talked about some options, one being to fill in the pool. And they were going to get with the HOA to see if that's something that the HOA would allow. So I encouraged her, if they had not done that, contact the HOA. If they stated that would not be a problem, then to contact the building department to see if they would need a permit to do something like that. Apparently, one of the HOA members last year did the legwork for Ms. Fredericks and found a pool company that would take out the stagnant water and fill it in, but it was going to cost about $3,000. According to the HOA member, she said Ms. Barber did not want to pay the $3,000, so we still sit with this stagnant pool. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Bass?
I'm sorry, Hill, you've made the compliance date July 26th. Our next meeting is July 22nd. Would it be acceptable to you if we move that to July 22nd, so at least we don't let this go another
Yeah,
month?
that's totally fine by
No
me.
particular reason on the 26th?
No, I was just trying to give her as much time because I know this is something that can't happen within a couple of weeks, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Officer Hill? Seeing none, Ms. Fredericks, this is your opportunity to speak on behalf of this and make any comments or suggestions you want to the board.
Well, I certainly don't mean to be non-compliant. My problem is I just don't have the money. And $3,000, I would gladly do it if I had $3,000. But, you know, when you don't even have $50, it's, you know, and I feel like I just can't ask my daughter to do it. Her husband had just recently had to stop working because of his eyes. They're trying for disability, but I don't know if he'll get it or not. So I hate to put, I've been trying to save up money, but it just seems like one thing after another comes up, and between my health and you know, then I lost a grandson, and it's just one thing after another. It's, you know, I canceled an insurance thing to be able to get more money each month. I had a tax bill of over $5,000 because of that, you know. So the stimulus checks I got went to pay my taxes. So I'm back to square one.
Well, I'm not sure what to tell you because it has to be remedied. And I just did rough math. At 2 weeks, when the fines kick in, you're over the $3,000 that was already going to cost you to fix. I understand you don't have it, but something's got to give here. And this has been going on since August of 2018, so we're almost at the 3-year mark. The neighbors must be having fits. In any case, I'm not sure, you know, what guidance I can give you. Board, do you have any questions or comments? Something's got to be fixed or fined.
Any motion?
Yes, sir.
The man that's gave me the estimate of $3,000 said that would be an estimate, but he wouldn't do it for that. So we didn't really have a, you know, somebody to do it. It has to be, I think, drained, and then you have to break up the bottom of the pool, and then you have to fill it back up with soil or stones and soil, and then I think you had to build a something over the top of that.
I understand. Just understand we're at the end point. I think you're going to hear here in a minute, so it's something that has to give one way or the other. It has to be
Is there any
fixed.
assistance or anything that you know, you can get from anywhere to help with that?
I'm not sure. Mr. Peterson, was that something you were going to?
I was just going to ask the officer, and if she saw that estimate, which really doesn't make any difference. But I'm just asking on a legality, can you drain that water onto the ground? Or is that a violation of some kind?
I think you can, because when your pool overflows, you can drain it out.
The water would have to remain on the property, and she's kind of located on a cul-de-sac and at the end of it, and it's also next to a like a public sidewalks that go through that community. So she wouldn't be able to drain it anywhere really except for just on her property. She can't drain it in the road, can't go in the storm drain. And
There's
I
no
believe
way-
it's considered gray water.
Uh-huh.
Well, and the issue is not necessarily the stagnant water, it's got to be a working pool, right? So chances are the pool filter's not working, and
It's just going to fill up when it rains again.
Yeah, so technically, we have looked at if they drain it and they don't care that it pops, they're not going to ever use the pool again. We encourage them to get a professional tarp. One of the ones that, like when banks foreclose on properties, it is taut, it is measured to the pool, and it's screwed down into the pavement. That way the rainwater can't get in anymore. That's one way to look at it.
Like maybe a cheaper way, but something you've got to grasp, and it sounds like a lot of work's been done, especially with Officer Hill trying to contact family and everything else and the HOA. So I don't know what the answer is on your end. I feel for you that you have to get something going here.
And I was just looking at an option for,
Sure.
without being in violation of something else.
Right.
Okay.
Anything else by anyone?
Motion to accept the officer's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Patton, second by Mr. Bass.
I would ask we move that date, though, to July 22nd, which is our next meeting, so
yeah.
at least if that's acceptable to the
July
maker.
22nd.
Motion by Ms. Patton, second by Mr. Bass, to accept staff's find there is a violation, accept staff's recommendation. However, changing the compliance date to July 22nd. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's what we've done. You got to July 22nd. Make some calls, maybe call your family, whatever you want to do, but you've got to do something, or else 2 weeks after the fines kick in, you're already beyond what they were going to do it for you, for that price. So, thank you for coming in today, Ms. Fredericks. Brings us to the next respondent that has 3 cases. Same page, page 9, and the following page, case number 20-71 CEB, 20-72 CEB, 20-73 CEB, Sturman Williams, 2401 East 20th Street, Sanford, Florida, 32771. Officer Bavaro, go ahead and do the 3 case. Once we get the respondent up here, we'll do the same as last time. We'll go through the 3 of them, and then we'll hear from them.
So I believe this is the gentleman who had a hearing impairment, so be very loud and
Okay.
clear.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
I need to excuse
Sure.
myself for a moment.
Sure. Just note Mr. Peterson stepped out. Madam Clerk, thank you. 2:30 p.m. Could you both state your names for the record, please?
Sturman Williams.
Thank you.
Sturman. Go ahead. Sturman Williams.
Thank you. Sturman and Carl, you've both been sworn in.
I didn't because I thought I was required to come here.
You may be speaking, so if you want to, are you going to be speaking today, do you think?
Just to clarify with him.
Yeah, I think.
Because he has a hearing problem.
Stand up just for a moment, or raise your right hand so Madam Clerk can swear you in.
I'll get it as far as I can get it.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give us the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And Mr. Williams has a hearing problem.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But if you can't hear us, let us know.
That's some of the reason why I got him with me.
Perfect. If we start going past you, just stop us, okay?
Furthermore, I want to bring to your attention that I was injured in an accident back in March 27. On 46, a guy got hit on a motorcycle, and a lady got killed. I'm a good Samaritan that got injured in that accident. So this has been my problem with cleaning up my property.
Okay. Well, you'll have a chance to talk about that in just a moment. Thank you for that information. Officer Bavaro.
Thank you. Officer Bavaro, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, Code Enforcement. This is case 2071 CEB. For the record, a copy of the PowerPoint has been submitted to the clerk as Exhibit 1. Sturman Williams. Again, the property is located at 2401 East 20th Street. The violation charge in this case is Seminole County Land Development Code, Chapter 30, Part 30, Section 30.1349E, which is all fences shall be maintained in the original upright condition. Initial inspection was on 1/14/2020. Notice was issued on 1/1/2020 and 1/20/2020. Compliance dates of 1/23/2020 and 2/17/2020. Several follow-up inspections, including one yesterday on 5/26/2020, revealed that the fence violation remained on property. Images you're about to see accurately depict the violations on the dates in which they were taken. This one on 1/14/2020, you can see the fence behind the pile of rubbish is falling down. This is a makeshift fence in place of the old fence, I believe kind of like at the gate area on 1/29/2020. The fence is leaning, as you can see right after the Coldwell Banker sign. It's kind of leaning all the way to the left, almost parallel with the ground on 1/29/2020. Again, the fence on 2/18/2020, showing that the fence is still falling down. This was on 4/21/2020, where we started to see our first signs of progress on the property. And then the notice that were posted on 5/13/2020 showed that the fence violation had remained on the left and on the right. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case, 2071 CEB has determined that the respondent is the owner of record at the property located at 2401 East 20th Street, in possession and control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Land Development Code, Chapter 30, Part 30, Section 30.1349E. Request the board issue an order for compliance on June 10th, 2021. In order to do so, they must remove or fix the unmaintained fence, or a fine of $50 a day be imposed. That concludes this presentation.
Thank you. If we note, Mr. Peterson's rejoined us. Are there any questions for Officer Bavaro? Seeing none, go ahead to the next case, which will be 20-72 CEB, same respondent, same address.
Thank you. Vincent Bavaro, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, Code Enforcement. For the record, a copy of this PowerPoint presentation has been submitted to the clerk as Exhibit 1. Case 20-72 CEB, Sturman Williams. Property is located at 2401 East 20th Street. Violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B, which is uncultivated vegetation. Initial inspection on 1/14/2020, several notices issued. Compliance date, most recent compliance date 2/17/2020. The most recent inspection on 5/26/2021 revealed that the vegetation remained on property. Images you're about to see accurately depict the violations on the dates in which they were taken. This one, as you see, grass growing up through the pile of debris there on 1/14/2020. Another on alongside the trailer, as you can see, the grass is growing up high there, 1/29/2020. Is the volume okay?
Yeah.
Okay. The vegetation and the grass on the side of the property on 1/29/2020. On 2/18/2020.
Can you speak a little slower?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Just a little slower.
Sorry, I do that. So the grass growing up on 2/18/2020 through the rubbish pile of tree debris. Image, again, noting several significant progress on 4/21/2020. And then the inspection when we posted the property for the notice of hearing on 5/13/2021, showing that there's still some vines remain. There is some high grass over 8 inches, but is significantly improved since then. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in case 2072 CEB, is determined that the respondent is the owner of record of the property located at 2401 East 20th Street, in possession and control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3B. Requesting the board to issue an order for compliance by June 10, 2021. In order to comply, they must cut or remove all vegetation in excess of 8 inches in height, or a fine of $50 a day be imposed. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions on that one for Officer Bavaro? Seeing none, go on to the third and final case, which is case number 20-73 CEB.
Vincent Bavaro, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. For a record, a copy of this PowerPoint presentation has been submitted to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case 2073 CEB, Sturman Williams. Property is located at 2401 East 20th Street. A violation charge of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3A, which is objectable and slightly unsanitary accumulation of garbage or refuse, essentially rubbish. Initial inspection on 1/14/2020, several notices issued. Recent compliance date of 2/17/2020, and the most recent inspection was done on 5/26/2021, showed that the rubbish remained on the property. Images you're about to see accurately depict the violations and the dates in which they were taken. This one on 1/14/2020, showing the pile of rubbish. Another image on 1/29/2020, rubbish behind the fence. Rubbish pile of tree debris on 1/29/2020. Again on 2/18/2020. This is when significant progress was noted on 4/21/2020. And then on 5/13/2021, when I posted the property for the notice of hearing for today, you see the rubbish on the side there. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case, 2073 CEB, is determined that the respondent, Sturman Williams, is the owner of record of the property located at 2401 East 20th Street, in possession and control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3A. Request the board issue an order for compliance on June 10th, 2021. In order to do so, they must remove all the rubbish and debris from the property, or a fine of $50 a day be imposed. Now, I did hear on 2 occasions from a representative or from the property owner, one on 8/6/2020. He had stated that he had a medical condition. He was trying to fix the issues. I told him that we had filed this for a hearing. At that time, we were going to September, but that didn't work out. And then again, I heard from somebody on 3/25/2021, Mr. Dalton. I'm not sure how he's related to the property, but he had called and requested what needed to be done for compliance, and that's all that I've heard from the property owner since then. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Bass?
Officer Bavaro, you say significant progress has been made. How would you characterize that in a percentage of how much work's been done?
It has been, the major issue was that big debris pile of tree debris. There is a lot of items in the backyard that you can't see. You can kind of see them, but you can't see them in the images, that there's some concern there. But for the most part, it was about that big pile of trash in the front. Kind of secondary to that, they did cut it all up and stack it. We got with the roads division because it's stacked up in the right-of-way. They had requested that we request that it not be in the right-of-way. Another concern is how much tree. I understand if the firewood is stacked properly, that's not considered rubbish, but that is a significant amount of firewood in Florida.
Gotcha. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions for Officer Bavaro? Seeing none, okay. Mr. Williams, this is your opportunity, or who you have with you, to present whatever you'd like to present in this matter. We're talking about 3 violations. He covered them all separately. One is the fence issue. The other is the uncultivated vegetation, which he said there's been improvements there, but there's still issues. And then the rubbish that is still left, which a lot of that involves the wood that's piled up. Those are the 3 things we're here for, so it's your opportunity to speak to all 3 of those. And you have the floor.
Okay.
Can you make sure he's aware, the compliance dates are all the same?
Yeah.
And that he has to, but till June 10th to get all that taken care of, so that's the
Okay.
main thing.
All right. What he explained to me is that if he can have an extension before he's going through right now, and say he need about 6 or 7 months to get through his condition right now, to get back up on his feet to take care of the violations.
What it is, I'm still under the doctor care. I've been in the hospital for meteorology. I just been down. My foot been broke. My ankle and my foot broke in the accident. So I haven't been able to do nothing here lately. I was in process of trying to clean all this up when the accident happened. So I haven't been able to do anything. I've been doing all I can right about now to try and live and take care of myself. But my foot and my ankle broke, and I'm trying to wait on it to heal. Once it heals, I'll go on and take care of this problem.
Board, any questions? I will note that he did call, if I heard Mr. Bavar right, back in August of 2020 explaining about the accident, or was that, you said he called with the medical?
I believe he may have talked to the clerk,
Okay.
but he did not speak to me. As regards to the accident.
Sir, do you have any family or friends or church or somebody who can help you with this?
No, not at the moment. I'm mainly just a loner. Just my friend and my pastor here. He been coming and checking on me and trying to help me. If I just have a little time to just get myself together, I promise you I'll take care of this matter. I don't have nobody to turn to.
Who's cutting your grass?
I had to get a friend of mine to mow it for me. He do lawn service, so he come by and try and keep that going for me. Try to get straight.
Sounds like you're pretty close from the presentation to having that in compliance. Or can we separate these out? Are there any of these three that you don't need such an extension on? How about, let's start with the grass, since that's the easy one.
Okay. He says cut the grass.
And Officer Bavaro, can you explain what's left? I think you said he had a lot done except for some vines.
Yeah, there were just some minor, where you don't edge around a trailer issue there, and then some vines on the fence. I imagine when he goes to replace the fence, those would be addressed at that point, because they're kind of all up on top of it and probably causing some of the leaning issues that the fence has. I'm in favor of an extension given the circumstances, and would be more than happy to see what resources we have in light of the new information, but I think 6 months is pretty extensive.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we accept Officer Rivero's recommendation as presented, except extended to July 22nd, which is another couple of months, which is our next meeting.
And let's take these one at a time. So we'll start with the fence. That may be your recommendation on all of them. But at this point, we'll start with number one, the fence issue, which is case number 20-71 CEB. Mr. Bass his motion is that we do find there's a violation. We accept staff's recommendation as presented, however, extending the compliance date to July 22nd. Is there a second on that? Mr. Bates seconds that. Is there any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, moving on to the next one, 20-72 CEB, which is the uncultivated vegetation.
I would make the same recommendation that we accept Officer Rivero's recommendation as presented, but extend the date to July 22nd.
Same motion, finding a violation. Second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries.
Same recommendation on 20-73, that we accept Officer Rivero's recommendation as presented, except extend the compliance date to July 22nd.
Second by motion by Mr. Bass, second by Mr. Bates. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So we've extended the date, the board has extended the date to July 22nd to get all three of these items done. Hopefully that helps. But speak with Officer Bavaro, especially after you get these done or anything in between then. If you have any questions, he'll answer those. Thank you for coming today.
Okay. Question. Trying to get some understanding here. Now, on the firewood, that's at the fence, does he have to stake that up also too, or remove it?
He'll answer that when those technicalities, he'll tell you.
Yeah, it'll probably, we'll try to work something out as far as relocating that firewood, but you have my information on the notice you got there in your hand.
Thank you again for coming. Brings us to the next respondent, which is on page 11.
You got to the 20.
Case number 20-75 CEB, Beatrice Ash, 2500 Crawford Drive, Sanford, Florida, 32771. And case number 20-76 CEB, Beatrice Ash, same address. And we'll get going in a minute here. Ma'am, once you get seated, if you could give us your name and confirm you've been sworn in.
Erica Ash Lane.
Thank
And
you.
yes, I've been sworn in.
Thank you. And your relationship to the...
I'm Beatrice Ash's daughter.
Thank you. Officer Bavaro.
Thank you. Vincent Bavaro, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. For the record, a copy of this PowerPoint presentation has been submitted to the clerk to Exhibit 1. This is case 2070-75 CEB, Beatrice Ash. Property is located at 2500 Crawford Drive. Violation charges Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B, which is uncultivated vegetation. Initial inspection on 1/9/2020, a notice of violation issued on 1/9/2020 and 1/30/2020. Several compliance dates, and the most recent reinspection was on 5/26/2021, revealed that the uncultivated vegetation remained on the property. The images you're about to see accurately depict the violations on the dates in which they were taken. This one on 1/9/2020 in the front of the property. Another image on 1/29/2020, no progress has been made. Another one on 2/18/2020, 4/21/2020, 6/3/2020. This is where I posted the notice of hearing for this hearing on 5/13/2020-21. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in case 2075 CEB, it's determined the respondent is the owner of record at the property located at 2500 Crawford Drive, in possession and control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B. Recommend the board issue an order for compliance on June 10, 2020-21. In order to do so, they must remove all the uncultivated vegetation from the property, or a fine of $50 a day will be imposed. That concludes my presentation for this case.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Bavaro? Seeing none, if you want to go ahead with the second one.
Spencer Bavaro, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. For the record, I have submitted a copy of this PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case 2076 CEB, Beatrice Ash. Property is located at 2500 Crawford Drive. Violation charges Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, it's defined in 95.3E, which is abandoned vehicles. Initial inspection on 1/9/2020, several notices issued. Recent compliance date of 2/17/2020, and the most recent inspection on 5/26/2020-21 revealed that the abandoned vehicle remained on property. Images you're about to see accurately depict the violations on the dates in which they were taken. This one, the tire is flat and sunken into the ground. The vehicle remains in the same condition. Again, on 4/21/2020, your vehicle remains in the same spot and same condition. On 6/3/2021, vehicle remains in the spot in the same condition. And then on 5/13/2021, where I posted the notice of hearing of the property, the vehicle remains the same. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case, 2076 CEB has determined that respondent is the owner of record of the property located at 2500 Crawford Drive, in possession and control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3E. Request the board issue an order for compliance on June 10, 2021. In order to comply, they must remove, repair, or place the abandoned vehicle inside an enclosed garage or attached carport. A fine of $50 a day be imposed. We did communicate, we've had zero communication with the owner as regards to this property. I actually had another case that showed a registered address for this location. As you see, the structure is vacant. That has since been turned over to the building division, and that property is on a demolition list. But we have had zero contact with the owner. We generally do a search of our history, any information we can get, and we were not able to find anything. So that concludes my presentation for now.
Thank you. Questions for Officer Bavaro? So you can't find the owner. Let me just get this straight. It's this, I thought it was the daughter of the owner.
I am.
But you say
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what's listed in the property appraiser and where we can find it. We are not able to find any contact information.
Oh, okay, but you show it as Beatrice Ashley.
Oh, absolutely,
I
yeah.
got you, okay. Any other questions? Okay, Ms. Ash, this is your opportunity to present.
Okay.
And we have, by the way, we have two cases here, the vegetation issue and the abandoned vehicle issue, so that's the two violations.
Okay, initially, I guess the easiest thing is to start with the abandoned vehicle. The vehicle was stolen out of the yard, and Seminole County Sheriff Office was the one that helped us get it back. And initially, we had it in the front on her driveway there. My mother's house burnt down a few years back, and then there were several permits that were pulled, but then in 2019, so when COVID hit, the people that were going to assist her in getting it repaired, that stopped. 2020, my mother's been in and out of the hospital all month. I'm not certain if this officer is the person that contacted me about, because she has other property as well. Someone called me about the property that was on 46, and I think it's Jitway, and they asked me, they had the number, so I wouldn't have not known anything because it's just been something that was posted in the yard. However, he was telling me, the gentleman told me that the grass needed to be cut down because it was impeding someone being able to see on 46. So I don't know if this is the same officer, but I would imagine if he did a search, then my number would have still come up because my number's always been used as a point of contact. When the car was brought back by Seminole County Sheriff's Office, had the tow truck bring the car back where they had removed it from, I would have put it in the driveway. But the reason being that I didn't put it in the driveway because the neighbors, I don't know, my mom doesn't live there anymore. She lives with me, and I had her mail forwarded. And I only received two notices, one saying a hearing that was going to be a month or so ago, and then another one saying that it was continued. We can put the car back in the driveway, but there was another car in there blocking. Secondly, my mother's been in the hospital this year since January 30th. She had COVID. She can't speak. She's on a ventilator. So there's absolutely nothing. And I also brought a letter from the hospital to verify that information. But as he said, no one has ever contacted me, and I know if code enforcement is the same for, that property is located in Midway. So if they did a search, they would have been able to reach out to me. And I just paid, I think, about $750 to not only get the grass cut at that location in the back of that house, also at the one on 46, they did both of them the same day. There are some permits that I know that her nephew pulled for her back in 2019. However, due to the COVID and her being in and out of the hospital a lot last year, but this year she had COVID, and so she's been there the whole duration since January 30th. I would certainly need some time because I've been at the hospital with her. I took FMLA off of my job, and as it was stated, when he initially called me about the property on 46, I immediately went and had it done within 2 weeks of time because it needed to be cut. And I said, no problem, I'll get someone to cut it, and I'll try to find someone who can maintain it. Matter of fact, I'll get both of them done. So I don't know if this hearing was absolutely, like they did their due diligence to locate me, because both of those properties, if one is pulled up, then the other one is there as well, and my number's always been attached to it. I certainly would need some more time because I'm just one person.
Thank you. Questions from board members?
What about the status of I'm sorry.
Ms. Patton?
No, go ahead.
I can't wait.
Go ahead, Ms.
Go
Patton.
ahead, that's what I'm saying.
What's your intention with the Impala?
Well, that car has sentimental values to my mother because it belonged to my brother. They say it's a classic. That's the reason why she wants to keep it. There have been several people that want to buy it. Of course, it had been stolen right out of the yard. So I don't really know what she want to do with it, because if it was up to just me, I would probably have, sold it to one of the people that have asked to do so. But the officer that brought the vehicle back suggested maybe you all should put it in the yard. It might be a little more difficult. They could just drag it out of the front off the driveway. But I understand due to, the grass growing up around it, but I didn't realize there was a violation to having a car parked in your yard, that there was a violation for that, but it could have been back on the driveway. But it doesn't look, all of that.
Does it run?
It did when it was there, it ran, but I'm certain that it probably would need a battery, and, it was running when we got it there.
Officer Capano, correct me if I'm wrong, but if she can show you the thing to move under its own power, it's fine, right?
Yes, if it is operational, which on 526, it was in the same condition as it has been since I first witnessed it on 19, so I'll be more than happy to meet you after the hearing. If you can.
You said 19, what was the year, though?
2020, I believe. I can meet her after the hearing. If she shows me it's operable, it's fine. I don't believe it is.
I mean, of course, there would not be any car, if it had not been cranked up in a year, it would initially probably need a battery, but, something. It would not run. Even my car that I have outside, if I let it stationary for a year and something, almost 2 years, then the number one thing it would need would be a battery. So it was operable when we brought it back to the house. And is there an issue with it? What is the violation for it to be if we moved it to her driveway? What would be the issue with
So
that?
in order to remedy it, it has to be either an operating condition, i.e., like you explained, a battery needs to replace. If that's all it needed, then it's an operating condition. The other option is to remove it, and then the third option is to place it within an attached permanent carport. I don't believe you have a carport.
Well, I mean, we're
or
looking at, so
garage.
that it's not necessarily I couldn't pull a carport out of anywhere else. But I guess my question would be, how would you know, like if it was just on the driveway, how would you know? Because there was a car that stayed there for like a year almost, probably from, you took that picture. I would be curious to see a picture of the driveway, what it looked like when you just took that side view, because there had been a car there, and I asked the neighbors, and then they told me it was the gentleman
Like a
that
Dodge
was a
Charger
car.
or something?
Yes,
Yeah,
that
I've seen
sat
that.
there for the longest. That's why her car couldn't go in the driveway, because, when they saw her vehicle, we pulled it on the side, they had that car there. So I'm just trying to figure out, how would you know?
For however many years now, I may have noticed that car there, but of course, on 19, it wasn't there, so I had taken a picture of it too. So I guess what is your specific question?
My specific question is, how would you know? Like, how you just arbitrarily, like if we move the car in the driveway, I didn't realize it was a violation for having a flat tire in your own driveway, but if it is, I'd like to be, see that in writing. But what would be the issue? Because I'm certain if we went and got a battery and cranked it up, someone could get it cranked to go to the driveway, then what would then be the violation?
Well, you would have corrected the violation at that point. If you can operate the vehicle, crank it up, drive it to the driveway, then it would be a corrected.
But how would then it would continue to be,
Look at the picture.
I'm looking at the
It's
picture.
got a flat tire, so it's not operable. That's how he noticed.
And it's not just a flat tire, it's sunken into the ground.
It's sunken into the ground.
And the violation is abandoned vehicle to the normal person. That appears to be abandoned.
abandoned on her property. But okay, we'll move the car. But I will, as I said, I will need some time because I will have to get someone, a mechanic or someone to come and try to put a battery in it, and we'll put it in the yard, in the driveway, and then, I'm certain if we're not driving it, then it's just gonna do the same thing again, the battery will go up.
Just to clarify, being in the driveway with a flat tire would render it inoperable, so it would not, it needs to be
So we'll put
removed
some
or
fix-a
repaired.
flat in the, because it wouldn't, the tire is sunken into the grass, and that's because it's stationary in that location.
Yeah.
However, if it was on the hard surface, that other Charger that you made mention of, it stayed in the yard for like a long time, and there was no, anything, no kind of notice or anything in regards to that, and I don't think it was operable, but it was just there. I was just curious as to how did you derive that it wasn't working?
Right.
But we'll move
The
it.
answer is on 1/9/2020 when I saw the flat tire.
Okay,
I was trying to help you with my first question.
yeah.
All you have to do is be able to, at some point in time, demonstrate to him that it can move, and he'll be happy.
Well, if I had an opportunity, because I know the property on 46,
But we're here now.
Yeah,
and
so I'm saying, yeah.
Trying to make it move, and I
Yes.
was trying to be helpful.
I appreciate you trying to be helpful.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to offer as your presentation?
Excuse me?
Do you have anything else you'd like to offer?
Well, in regards to the grass has been cut down. Especially part, you can tell in the picture that he just took, it's not like it's high anymore, and on the side, even the neighbors, they cut it, so before the grass in the back was very high, before I had the gentleman come and cut all of that down with the Bobcat, the neighbors would cut it, but they couldn't get it once it got cut, it was so high. However, you can tell, sometimes the neighbor that lives right next door, her grass is higher than that grass. So the vegetation is not high like it was in 2020.
Officer Bavar, there is still work to do on the grass vegetation.
Yes, sir. On this image on 5/13/2021, you can see that the vegetation is up probably past the trunk of the vehicle. So I think that's pretty significant.
Thank you. Any other questions? Motion?
Officer Bravero, what was the compliance date you had on both of these?
June 10th, sir.
June 10th.
One more question. Normally, when we see these photos, there's a companion case for remains of a structure, is that not?
Correct. We reached an agreement, the sheriff's office in the county, as to not hindering property owners with double fines. For example, they would accrue a fine from us for the remains of rubble of a structure. On this same token, they'd be on a demolition list that the county will abate eventually and then lien the property. So essentially 2 fines for the same violation. So we reached an agreement with the building division that any violation for remains of rubble of a structure on a vacant property that no progress is being made on, we will forward that to the building official. If he determines that it's eligible for that list, then he'll put it on a nuisance abatement list. We then rescind our case, and they pursue the remains of rubble of the structure. So there is a case with the building division for the condition of the structure. From my understanding, according to Liz Parkhurst, on 2/19/2020, there had been no action taken since 2015 in an attempt to repair that structure.
Well, there was a permit that was pulled. I'm certain that you could probably
I don't want to
pull
get us
it.
off track here. I was
Right.
just curious.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying when you said no action, there was a permit pulled. I know that the contractor is Chauncey Rickard. I know he wouldn't lie and say he did it, so it's just a easy, that could be
That's
verified.
great. You're not here for that. It's not a violation at this point here, so thank you, though. Mr. Bass, did you have?
I was going to make a motion that on case 2077, that we accept Officer Burroughs' recommendation as presented, except extend the compliance date to June 30th.
2075, case 2075?
2070, I'm sorry, 2075, yes.
Okay, and extending the date until?
June 30th. That gives you a month to get this done.
My mother's in the hospital on a ventilator that she's been on there since January 30th. So how then will I took off my job since I work for Orange County Public Schools. I've been off since the day that she came to the hospital. So I won't be able to get it done within just 30 days. It didn't accumulate in 30 days. I would need some more time. And I know that,
Talking about mowing the grass, man.
excuse me?
We're talking about mowing the grass. Mowing the grass, that's what we're talking about.
It's two different
for
cases. He's
just-
talking about the vegetation case.
To mow the grass.
Okay.
A month to mow the grass around.
Oh, well, it's not my grass, sir, but I would.
You don't have to do anything. This is against your mother, so you don't have to do a thing. It's not.
I understand that, and you don't have to be condescending, sir.
I'm not
I'm just saying to,
condescending.
what I am saying to you is that when you said that it was more than just mowing the grass, because a lawnmower can't cut the grass down. You have to get like a bobcat or something. The
No,
grass
I-
that could be mowed in the front, that grass could be mowed, but that grass, the vegetation
We're
by the
getting in
car.
the weeds
We're
on
made
this.
a motion and
Yeah, that really is not relevant to what we're talking about here. We have a motion by Mr. Bass to accept the find there is a violation, accept this staff's recommendation as presented, however, extending the date to June 30th. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Peterson. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. So that's what we've done on that case. You have till June 30th to finish. It sounds like you've already started, which is great. Case number 20-76 CEB, that is the abandoned vehicle case, the issue about the car. We've heard your presentation. Thank you. Is there a motion on that?
I make a motion that we accept Officer Burroughs' recommendation as presented, but extend the date, compliance date to June 30th.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Bass, second by Mr. Peterson to accept, find there is violation, accept staff's recommendation as presented, however, extending the compliance date to June 30th. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So we've done June 30th on both of those issues.
So will I get a business card from him so that he can come out and see the
Call
vehicle?
him. Ball's in your court now. Call him when it's in compliance.
Where will I get his information
You'll
from?
get it when you walk out of here. He'll be back there. Somebody can hand it to you that works with him. Or it should be posted in the front yard if it's still there. Okay, it brings us to case number, so there's three cases with this respondent. Case number 20-77 CEB, Vandanand Singh, trustee, 9250 Overland Road, Apopka, 32703. This is the first case. Case number, same respondent, same address, 20-78 CEB, and case number 20-79 CEB. If you could say your name for the record, sir.
Vedanand J. Singh.
I'm sorry?
Vedanand J. Singh.
Thank you. You've been sworn in?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
And Officer Hill, whenever you are ready.
Officer Hill, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. I've submitted a copy of my PowerPoint to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case 2077 CEB, Vedanand Singh, located at 9250 Overland Road in Seminole County. Violation charge is Seminole County Land Development Code, Chapter 30, Part 41, Section 30.762, unpermitted use. The storage of heavy equipment and recreational campers is not a permitted use in a C2 zoning district. My initial inspection was on October 8th, 2019, with notices to the respondents, including verbal notices, because Mr. Singh was asking for 30-day extensions, several compliance dates, and multiple follow-up inspections, including yesterday, there were 2 inspections, one done by myself, and one again in the evening by myself with Alert, our helicopter. The results of our follow inspection was the violation of the storage of heavy equipment and recreational campers remains on the subject property. My initial inspection was done on October 8, 2019. You see the heavy equipment in both photos. This is in front. Mr. Singh owns a, I guess you would call it a motel. And these photos were taken on October 8, 2019 of the campers. These photos were taken on December 19, 2019 of the heavy equipment. These photos were taken on the same day of the heavy equipment. Now, Mr. Singh had called me and asked, besides an extension, he wanted a map of his property of where it began and where Orange County was, because he was under the impression that he had went ahead and pushed his violations onto Orange County. So where you see that top orange arrow, that's where Orange County starts at. These photos were taken by our helicopter Alert on December 21st, 2019. You see the red arrow is showing his campers, and the blue arrow is where the Orange County line is. This photo was taken on the same date. As you see, the blue is showing water, so if he pushes any more into Orange County, it's going to end up in the water. And then the red arrow is depicting the heavy equipment and the campers. These photos were taken on December 21st, 2019. Again, the campers and the heavy equipment. At this point, Mr. Singh had actually pushed his equipment onto Orange County and put up a makeshift fence where he believed that the Orange County and Seminole County line ended. And these were taken on February 24th, 2020. Again, on February 24th, 2020, the heavy equipment he had pushed back onto Orange County. These photos were taken on June 30th, 2020. These photos were taken on June 3rd, 2020. So this inspection was done yesterday. So in my initial inspection, there were only 3 campers. Now there's a 4th one, which is on the right. The right one is in Seminole County. The 2 campers in the left photo, the 2 campers on the left are in Orange County. And then the one on the right, a quarter of it is in Seminole County, and the 3/4 of it is in Orange County. This photo was taken yesterday as well. So Alert and I went out yesterday, and the left photo is showing the red arrow is where is the one camper that is definitely in Seminole County. The orange arrow on the right is where the Orange County line is, and his 3 campers. And you can see that 2 of them at the top of the photo are in Orange County, and then a quarter of it is in Seminole, and 3/4 of the other one is in Orange. So the suggested recommendation by the code enforcement officers based on the testimony and evidence presented in case 2077 CEB, it is determined that the respondent, Mr. Vidan Singh, excuse me if I butcher your name, is located at 9250 Overland Road in Seminole County in possession or control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Land Development Code Chapter 30, Part 41, Section 30.762, uses unpermitted. It's further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of July 26, 2021. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must remove the recreational campers and heavy equipment from the property. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $100 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. So there has been multiple inspections. Even at one point, the Lieutenant Foley, had responded out last year and had met with Mr. Singh, and I was called out as well to go over the violations. And at that time, Mr. Singh was like, I didn't have enough time. I never got any extensions. At that point, he had gotten 2 30-day extensions, so Lieutenant Foley said no more extensions at that point. And then, of course, this case was supposed to be heard last year, and then COVID hit, so it got pushed back a year. I was supposed to meet Mr. Singh out at the property yesterday. I told him, he asked me to call him when I was on my way. I was running a little bit late, so I called him and said I'll be there for about 45 minutes. He said something else came up and he couldn't make it out. So last night, when I was putting together this presentation, and he had told me before he had pushed his violations into Orange County, I really felt that I needed to get better photos. So when Alert was on patrol, and I went out last night, and they were able to grab that footage to determine that some of the violation did get pushed into Orange County. Some of it does still exist in Seminole County, and I have contacted Orange County Code Enforcement today to inform them of that. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Bass?
Officer, I just want to make sure I'm seeing, there is one RV that is fully in Seminole County, and there's one trailer, it looks like, actually, that's just a portion in Seminole County. The equipment has now been moved into Orange County. So
Correct.
those are the only two things on this violation.
Right, so to come into compliance, he pushed everything back, put up a makeshift fence, called
So
it a
if he
day.
moves that one RV and pushes the other a little further, we're done with this violation. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one. 9520 Overland Road, and I'm familiar with Overland to some degree and know a lot of it's in Orange County. Is that address in two different counties? Who collects the taxes on it?
So his property actually ends where those arrows and that dirt road end. So he doesn't technically own that property. Orange County owns that property. I don't know who in Orange County owns it, but he does not own it.
Do you know what it shows on the property appraisers? Who owns it?
On Seminole County, it ended. It doesn't show it, so I would have to go on an Orange County property appraiser.
Just trying to soak it in. Okay.
Not our problem.
Yeah, no, okay. Any other questions?
Let's hear the other.
Yes, I'm sorry, Ms. Patton.
I said, let's hear the other cases. There's two more.
Oh, you're right, absolutely. Okay, we'll move on to, and you'll have an opportunity to respond to all three of these here momentarily. Case number 20-78 CEB. Officer Hill, if you want to go ahead and give us that one.
Officer Hill, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. This is case 2078 CEB. I have submitted a copy of my PowerPoint to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is, the property owner is Mr. Singh, located at 9250 Overland Road in Seminole County. Violation charge is Seminole County Code Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3A, rubbish. My initial inspection was October 8, 2019, with notices to the respondents via mail and verbal, same as the compliance dates. My follow-up inspections were in December 2019, and my last one was yesterday. And the results of my inspections of violation of rubbish remains on the subject property. These photos were taken on my initial inspection on October 8, 2019, mattress, and then on the right by the campers was some trash up underneath tarps. These photos were taken on December 19, 2019, mattresses at the curb, and more rubbish on the right. These photos were taken December 19, 2019, microwave outside, the refrigerator, and then you have the trailer with rubbish. These photos were taken on the same date. This was behind the motel. Again, same date. These photos were taken February 17, 2020. See some car parts. These photos were taken on the same dates, so the same rubbish sits. These photos were taken on June 3rd, 2020. These photos were taken on June 3rd, 2020. These photos were taken on the same date. There's some on the right, the little arrow trying to show the tires and junk in the vegetation. And Mr. Singh had said that he had taken some care of things, so he put up a chain link fence and some tarp material to try to kind of block the violations. And these tires were prior to that fence on the left-hand side. This pile was taken on the same date. The same rubbish, the door sitting in the weeds. Suggested recommendation is based on the testimony and evidence presented in case 2078 CEB is determined that the respondent, Mr. Singh, is the owner of record located at 9250 Overland Road in Seminole County, in possession or control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3A. It is further recommended the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight, July 26, 2021. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must remove all the rubbish and debris from the subject property. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Hill on this one? Before we move to the next one, which would be, that is case number 20-79 CEB, if you want to move on to that.
Officer Hill, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. This is case 2079 CEB. I had submitted a copy of my PowerPoint to the clerk as Exhibit 1. The property owner is Mr. Singh, located at 9250 Overland Road in Seminole County. Violation charge of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B, uncultivated vegetation. My initial inspection was on October 8th, 2019, with multiple notices to respondent via mail and verbal, with multiple compliance dates, with multiple follow-up inspections, including yesterday. The results of my inspection is the violation of uncultivated vegetation remains on the subject property. These photos were taken on my initial inspection on October 8, 2019. These photos were taken on the same date. These photos were taken again on the same date. This is in the front of the property. This is in the back of the property. So he had made some progress when I went out on December 19th, 2019. He had cleared a lot of the vegetation out in the front, but there remained in the back on the same date. And these photos were taken on February 24th, 2020, again on the same date. These were taken on June 3rd, 2020, same date. These photos were taken August 27th, 2020. Same date. These photos were taken yesterday. There was some mowing done. It's basically just a path through the vegetation, so not all the vegetation has been removed from the property, as you can see depicted in these photos. Suggested recommendation by myself is based on the testimony and evidence presented in case 2079 CEB. It's determined that the respondent, Mr. Singh, is the owner of record located at 9250 Overland Road in Seminole County, in possession or control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B. It is further recommended the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of July 26, 2021. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must remove all the uncultivated vegetation in excess of 8 inches in height from the subject property. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Hill? Seeing none, Mr. Singh, this is your opportunity to address these 3 violations. We have the heavy equipment violation, the rubbish violation, and the uncultivated vegetation. So the floor is yours to address all 3 of those.
Well, I did try to address most of it. With the camper, the long one extended. I have a friend who's coming from New York. He's supposed to come last month, but he extended it to tomorrow. So I will move that camper out. The one that's in the middle that was placed lately, that's a drivable one. It's a mobile, a motor home, whatever you call it, motor drivable one. So I just brought it over there for about a month ago. So I will either move it to the back and take it out to the violated area. The rubbish, the trees and the shrubs, the reason why you're seeing so much on the end that we didn't cut is because that's like low water area, so a lot more couldn't go there. And on the other one next to the fence, we can try to get my guy to address those on the fence. With the rubbish, I'll gladly move them out. Being suggested time, I appreciate the time she gave, and I will address all the violation before that.
So you're good with the times to get everything into compliance on all 3 items?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Motion by Ms. Patton to accept the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Which,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
You going case by case?
You could do all 3 of them.
We've got different
All the same
fines
date?
on one of them. Okay. We'll start, thank you, Ms. Patton, with the first one, which is the heavy equipment one. That's case number 20-77 CEB. And that's the heavy equipment one. Compliance date by July 26 or $100 a day fine. was your motion stands on that one?
Yes.
Did you have something?
He's seconding. I would like to ask the maker.
So you second that one on that?
On the first one,
Yes, the one, we're on the first one right now, $500. Mr. Bass, you had something to
I
say?
would like to ask if we can move the compliance date to June 10th, because it sounds like that's a very quick fix. He's got somebody coming in, he can drive the oven off the property. Seems unreasonable to wait for 2 months to do something. It can be done pretty quickly. I would ask the motion to move it to June 10th compliance date for that motion.
I did, before I closed him from speaking, ask him if he was okay with the 26th. I don't know if I need to give him an opportunity to address
It doesn't matter.
anything, or, okay.
You don't have to give an opportunity, but
He just told us.
Yeah.
He told somebody's coming in, and he just said, the vehicle's movable.
Okay,
so
I missed it.
there's no-
Okay, and, I'm sorry, the date was moved.
I would ask that make the motion, move it to June 10th, which would be 2 weeks.
June 10th, you made the motion. Are you okay with that? or-
Officer Hill's got it.
I'm just trying to keep all the dates the same date because I no longer work that area. I'm just trying to close out all these old cases, so that's why all the dates are the same.
I just didn't want her to make multiple trips out there.
Then I would ask that we move the date to July 22nd, because that's our board meeting, so this doesn't go into another month, since we're giving them 2 months to get this done. Is that, all three of these? Is that
Okay.
good with you?
So, starting with the first one, the other two, I'm sure will be strongly considered. He's asking that the motion be changed, just changing the compliance date to July 22nd. You okay with that? Mr. Peterson,
Yep.
you're okay with that? Okay, so that's the motion. Fines on this particular case, after that date would be $100 a day fine, and we did find that there's a violation. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The next one, which is, we'll call the rubbish case, case number 20-78 CEB. Motion on that, that's compliance by, we're looking at the same date, hopefully the 22nd, or $50 a day fine is what's on the table. Does anybody want to make a
I'll
motion?
make that motion.
Mr. Peterson?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wolfram. Everybody understand the motion? All in compliance date, July 22nd, $50 a day fine after that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the third one, uncultivated vegetation, seeking a motion for July 22nd, or a fine of $50 a day, or whatever is the choice here. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we continue that with the same date.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Peterson, second by Mr. Bates. There is a violation on that one as well, moving the compliance date to July 22nd. After that, fines of $50 a day. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's what we've done, sir. Mr. Singh, you've got till July 22nd to get these corrected, to push them around, or whatever your answer is, but they need to be corrected for Seminole County on that date.
Thank you, I'll inform her as soon as I get it
All right.
resolved.
Thank you. Hopefully you get it taken care of. Moves us to page 14. Case number 18-70 CEB Horace Orr et al., 1205 Merritt Street, Altamont Springs, Florida, 32701. We have one case for that respondent. Officer Hurd is the presenting officer. And then, if I can hear, once you get seated, ma'am, your name and relationship to the case.
Sandra Dumas.
Thank you, Ms.
I'm
Dumas.
my heir to this property.
I'm sorry.
I'm the heir to this
Okay.
property.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Officer Hurd, whenever you're ready.
Dorothy Hurd, South Region Code Enforcement Officer for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. This is case 1870 CEB Horace Orr. This case was originally heard by the Code Enforcement Board on August 23, 2018, and an order was entered giving the respondents a compliance date of September 7. Affidavit of compliance was filed by myself on September 12. An affidavit of repeat violation was filed on January 15, 2020. On February 27, 2020, the Code Enforcement Board issued an order continuing this case to the March 26th hearing. An affidavit of compliance after repeat violation was filed by myself after a reinspection on April 7, 2020. So these pictures are just going to be different times taken during this case. This is January 16, 2020, 2/5/2020. This is when it was posted back in February, but it was continued, and it was still overgrown. This photo was taken on April 7th, 2020, where the property had been cut, and then I posted this property for this hearing on May 11th, 2021, and it was still in compliance. It was back in compliance because it went out of compliance again. The suggested recommendation by the code enforcement officer is based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case. It is determined as Horace Orr et al. Is the owner of record at the property 1205 Merritt Street located in Seminole County, in possession or control of the property, and was in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, defined in 95.3B. I'm asking the board to order that based on the findings and facts, conclusions of law and order issued on August 23rd, 2018, issue a fine. Let me get it from what she did here, because mine is different. Order imposing a fine in the amount of $3,150 for 63 days of repeat violation from January 15, 2020 through and including March 17, and the fine shall continue to accrue at $100 per day, but the property is presently in compliance. I have the administrative cost for the board, for the county and myself. The total is $496.39 for the fines. And for the record, I'm submitting a copy of this presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1.
Thank you. So we're here to determine a fine and whether to reduce the fine?
Oh, you haven't been asked anything yet. You're here to simply decide if you're going to impose the fine for the time that it was out of compliance.
Okay,
She's just provided you with an alternate number.
got it. Okay. Any questions for Officer Hurd? As you heard, she's offering the administrative costs if we want to take that in consideration. I will also note this is a repeat to the third time. I want to consider that as well. Ms. Dumas, it's your opportunity to speak to these violations, or to this violation.
We have somebody that cleans the yard, come out and clean every month that yard, so it's in compliance. To be honest with you, I thought there was someone that comes out and cleans the yard.
Okay. So there've been some repeated violations, but you can assure us that won't happen again?
It won't happen again. He comes out every month and clean the yard. We're actually trying to get with someone to actually fix the house. So we're getting ready to move into the house once we get someone to.
I make a motion that we, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I may say something, there is another repeat after this one. She was, on March 24th, 2021, let me see, make sure I'm getting the right date. On March 4th, 2021, the property was out of compliance. It's back in compliance now, but there was a repeat violation after this one. So there is another one that's forthcoming, another case that will be forthcoming.
For when? For March 24th?
Hold on a second. For the same violation?
Yes, for the overgrowth.
Another repeat.
There was this repeat, and then after that, there was another one for a short amount of time, and it's back in compliance now
Are we
again.
adding up are we going to be hearing the $3,000 again? I mean, how are we adding the numbers?
The neighbors put that, are you talking about that?
Ma'am, let us get through, I'll let you
okay.
talk here just a minute.
All right.
I'm trying to figure out
Because I'm trying to figure out.
how we're adding I mean, we see it again, we've already done something here.
So it looks, this case was back from 2020. So what happened was this got pushed back to this year, but this most recent
I see.
inspection is for March 4th of 2021. And then it came into compliance, or at least the reinspection revealed it had been corrected by March 24th, 2021.
We're looking at a 20-day scenario of fines, and
So this hasn't come before you yet because it hasn't been scheduled for hearing. This is what's been brought because it's a leftover from 2020.
I get it.
So if you waive this one or you reduce this one, whatever you choose to do, it sounds like there's another one coming down the pike, right?
Yes.
Got it. Oh,
So you got to be careful with who's telling you that they're cleaning up the property because.
Ma'am, I go
maybe
by
they
there and
didn't.
check. The yard is being cleaned up. The neighbor across the street, he has a landscaping business. He parks his vehicle and he dumps trash. I've corrected that already with him, but that's what happened. That's why that, which is the Stevensons across the street from the 1205 Merritt Street.
That's not before you today.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you.
But it wasn't for the trash, this next violation is for the vegetation again. So it was out of compliance from the 4th of March through, when I went back out on the 24th, it was taken care of. So there's a period of some days in there for grass, not for trash.
Now, is that in 2021?
Yes.
Okay, so as short as a couple of months ago, we had a violation.
Yes.
Ma'am, are you aware there was that violation this year?
When we received the notice, we went over there, and it was the gentleman that lives across the street. They think the house is abandoned, so people
Ma'am,
come.
she's not talking about debris, she's
Yes.
talking about it was not mowed.
Well, from my understanding, it's been mowed every month from March. But she said it wasn't in compliance, but then it got back in compliance, correct?
I hear the confusion.
That's what I'm asking.
I hear the confusion because she's talking 2021 and this is from 2020.
No, she's talking 2021.
Right.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
so are you.
I'm
And
talking
this is just-
2021, and I'm
Yeah.
talking 2020.
Right.
2021, it's been mowed and it's in compliance. But she's saying that in March, it wasn't, right, Ms. Hurd?
Correct, and actually, it was even before then, but we couldn't do anything, so I didn't send a notice then. But when we were out, when I was able to start, when the toll was lifted, and we were able, that's when I sent, but it was actually overgrown longer than from March. I just went out there on March 4th, and it was still like that. So from March 4th of this year, the new one started. From March 4th to when I went back out on the 24th, it was taken care of. But it was actually overgrown much longer than that.
Okay.
So whoever you got cutting, they're not consistently
Well, he's
doing that.
consistently cutting it every month because I go out there and pay him. So I see, and from my understanding, it was, okay, fine. All right, got it.
Maybe you all make an appointment with whoever's cutting it so he understands.
Okay, I can do that.
If you want, we all can meet up.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So Tony could, you could tell him what needs to be done with the yard, but he
Okay.
cuts it he knows because he cuts all the property that's in Altamont.
Okay.
So we're here today on the 2020 case, looking at a recommendation of the fine being 63 days out of compliance for the tune of $3,150. Officer has offered what the admin costs are. The option is yours, Board.
Ma'am, I am inclined to make a motion to reduce this to what's called the administrative cost of $496.39, and it'd be up to this board to decide whether they agree with that or not. If you'll assure me that you will come be responsible for this, because if this happens, I'm not talking about the one we're going to hear in a couple of months or a month, or whatever that's going to be, but if it happens again, then it tells me that you weren't taken care of. So we're kind of going to lay it back on your shoulders. So if there's any repeat violations, then this could get nasty. So it's really up to you, and if you're telling me you're going to, from this point on, I'd be glad to reduce this to administrative costs, which will only be $496. So
I will make sure that yard,
you assure the
1205
board,
Merritt
it's not
Street,
me personally, obviously.
yes, that it will be in compliance every month.
I would make a motion that we accept staff's recommendation, but reduce to administrative cost of $496.39.
I heard you first. I will say Mr. Bass made the motion, accepting staff's recommendation, however, reducing the fine to $496.39. And Ms. Patton seconded. All in favor, say
To
aye.
be paid by when? You need a date. To be paid by.
Oh, to be paid by 30 days from today's date, which would be
400, how
June
much?
30th.
June 30th?
June 30th.
And what happens if it's not paid by June
If
30th?
it's not, it'll revert back to the full fine of
How much is it again?
$496.39.
Okay, thank you.
And then any future
Any
violations?
future violations will accrue at whatever the...
$100 a day was the
$100 a day.
recommendation.
Yeah, $100 a day.
Okay.
She drug it out of me.
So, can I ask Ms. Hurd a question, or
You should talk to her
I
later.
could talk to her like, okay.
We need to re-second that or not?
She seconded,
Then we
everybody
We just
understand that?
clarified the motion, I'm sorry.
Okay. To accept staff's recommendation, however, reducing the fine to $496.39 to be paid by June 30th, or it reverts back to the original $3,150,
And accruing from there on.
and accruing at $100 a day from there.
Right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, ma'am.
Is there anything else?
No, you're done. Whatever questions you have, Officer Hurd will help you.
Do she need, you need?
No, you can just, my number's on the back of the PowerPoint. You can just call me if you got questions.
All right.
That last page. I think it's on there. Let me, if not, I can, I'll do it.
Next one's going to be case number 19-170.
Okay.
19-177 CEB Guadalupe and Marina Nieves, 1325 East Altamont Drive, or Altamont Springs, 32701. This is on page 15, and respondents have one case. And if you please state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Marina Nieves. I am the daughter of Guadalupe and Marina Nieves.
Thank you. You've both been sworn in.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. And when Officer Hurd gets ready, she will start.
Dorothy Hurd, South Region Code Enforcement Officer for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. For the record, I'm submitting a copy of this presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case 19-177 CEB, Guadalupe Nieves and Marina Nieves. This case was originally heard by the Code Enforcement Board on December 5th, 2019, and an order was issued giving the respondents a compliance date of December 26, 2019. An affidavit of noncompliance was filed by the inspector at the reinspection on January 7, 2020. The following pictures are going to depict what was there at the beginning and what's there now. My last inspection was this morning. The last picture, those, I guess that's shelving and fencing. When I talked to, I'm not sure if I talked to the wife or the husband way back in 20 or 2019, they were the person that was renting that place or that was going to get that place, they were supposed to remove those items. But for whatever reason, I don't know, they never did. I did speak to the daughter this morning, and she's going to go out there, she says, if she has to do it today, to remove that shelving and stuff. So it's not in compliance. I'm asking that maybe if you could give her until the next hearing, but don't place the lien. Just give her until the next hearing to get it in compliance, because she is aware of that. She wasn't aware at first. Her parents didn't let her know that this is what was going on. And I hadn't talked to them since, I think, 2019, but she is willing to get everything taken care of. So, but it's the board's pleasure. I'm just asking to give her some time to get it taken care of. And then I did advise her we may be asking for administrative costs, but the board will make that decision at that point. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Hurd? And we see the recommendation, however, she would not be opposed to tabling this until the July 22nd.
I move we continue this case till the next board meeting.
Okay. It's fine.
July 22nd.
July 22nd. Do I have a second on that? Would you like to present?
I would like
So
to
we need
say
see if
something.
she's okay with that.
Okay.
I'd like to say something. My parents own this property, but they are declining in age, and I'm trying to take over.
Sure.
I wasn't aware. Is there a way that I can be included, or maybe I can keep your card? I didn't know there was a violation at all. So when I saw this, my heart sank to my stomach because I didn't know. I am more than happy. I will take care of it. I have a truck. I will take care of it. I didn't know it wasn't a problem, so I just need to be included. I would like to, if my name or my number can be included, if there's a problem, that I can go ahead and take care of it.
Legally, she can't be included, but informally, she can get with the officer and they can communicate. Legally, you can't be included.
Okay.
But you can informally talk to the officer and communicate with her. The board's willing to give you till July 22nd to fix the problem. So I would say
Fixing that
yes.
today, are you kidding? When I saw that number, no, today.
I would say yes to the board.
I
and
appreciate
then-
that. Very appreciative.
Okay. Any questions for respondents? Okay.
Second the motion?
Okay, motion by Mr. Bass, second by Ms. Patton, to table this until our July 22nd meeting. Any other discussion on it? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So July 22nd, we'll see you back. Hopefully it's taken care of, and then you're still going to come here and see a big number, and then you make whatever request you want to make. We'll try to remember.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
The next case, there are two cases beginning on page 16 and into 17. Case number 20-01 CEB, Bessie Ziegler, Life Estate, 157 Jackson Street, Altamont Springs, 32701. And 20-02 CEB, same respondent, same address. This is a lien request. These are lien requests. Officer Hurd.
Did you want him to give his name?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sir, go ahead and have a seat. My apologies. If you could state your name and your relationship to the case.
Yes, sir. Grandson, Kelvin Rump.
Calvin?
Kelvin Rump, R-U-M-P-H.
And have you been sworn in?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay, Officer Hurd.
Dorothy Hurd, South Region Code Enforcement Officer for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. This case is 20-02 CEB, Bessie S. Ziegler, Life Estate, care of Kevin Rump. This case was originally heard by the Code Enforcement Board on January 23rd, 2020, and an order was issued giving the respondents a compliance date of February 7th, 2020. And the affidavit of noncompliance was filed by the Code Enforcement Officer after re-inspection on February 10th. My last inspection on the property was the 26th. And these vehicles had been removed from the property. The property is presently in compliance. And I do have the administrative costs on this one. I believe I can. I think I did.
It's on the agenda, 54921.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. That's, the board's pleasure. And for the record, I'm submitting a copy of this presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. Sorry.
What was that cost?
$549.21. And this is the 02 case I think you started with, which is fine. This is the abandoned vehicle case, correct?
Oh, yes.
That's fine. We're just.
I'm sorry about that. Yes. The abandoned vehicle. 2002.
Okay, and that's, are you concluded?
Yes, that concludes my presentation on 2002.
Any questions for Officer Hurd? Seeing none,
So the cars are gone, correct?
Yes. They're gone.
Why don't you hear 21, or the 01?
Okay, you want to hear
Before you make a
21?
decision on 02?
Hero 1 first?
No, hear it in addition to.
Yes.
Before
Okay.
you make a decision on 02.
Okay.
Okay, Dorothy Hurd, South Region Code Enforcement Officer for the Seminole County Sheriff Office. This is case number 20-01 CEB. Bessie Ziegler, Life Estate, care of Kelvin Rumpf at 157 Jackson Street. This case was originally heard by the Code Enforcement Board on January 22nd, 2020, and an order was issued giving the respondents a compliance date of February 7, 2001. An affidavit of non-compliance was filed by myself after re-inspection on February 10th. And my last inspection was yesterday, and the rubbish remains on the property. The suggested recommendation is based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case. It is determined that Bessie Ziegler, Life Estate, care of Kelvin Rumpf, are the owners of record at the property located at 157 Jackson Street, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, is defining 95.4 is defining 95.3A. I'm asking the board to issue an order imposing a lien in the amount of $12,500 for 125 days of noncompliance from February 8, 2020 through and including March 17 at $100 a day, and March 3, 2021 through and including March 27, 21, and the fine shall continue to accrue at $100 per day for each day the violation continues or is ever repeated after today's date. Thank you. Well, I've talked to Mr. Rumpf on several occasions. He's got kind of a interesting situation on the property as far as the rubbish. I believe that if he could have had it removed by now, he would have, but he's got some legal issues that he's going to advise the board of. So before placing a lien, if the board could avoid placing the lien and give him time to maybe get the legal situation straightened out, that would be okay with me, but it's the board's pleasure.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any questions for Officer Hurd? Mr. Rumpf, it's your time to speak, sir. Yeah, and we have two cases we're here for.
Yes,
The abandoned vehicle case, and you can take them in any order, and the rubbish case.
Yes, sir.
These, we're not here to hear the whole case again.
I understand. I concur.
But we're deciding to put a lien or not, so whatever you want to share with us in regards to that.
Oh, very good. All right, now, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out and hearing me and whatnot, and I appreciate that and whatnot, because it's been a long year. Every time when I open my mail up, your counselor didn't have to go around about the COVID. So I never did understand. I talked to a Sergeant Bluebecker, and I wanted to literally go out there and move the stuff. But she told me it was a good thing I didn't, because I would be in violation of moving. All right, let me start right here. The guy's name is Nadine Meir. I rented the property to him because my grandmother, before she passed on, she passed away. She didn't make it. She passed away at 105 last year, March. As soon as the COVID hit, because I wanted to rent the property so we can help her with some insurance matters, because when you're over 85, the government not going to give you any assistance. So we moved her to Orlando, and the house was vacant, and I told her, I said I wanted to rent the property, and just to get some funds in. So I allowed him to rented the property to him. He rented it to some more people in there, and little did I know that they was packing stuff up on the property, because the property is pretty large and it's back in the back. And until Officer Hearns came and informed me that, hey, you got stuff on, you got a car there's no tag on it, this or that or whatnot. So I said, wow, man. So when I came out there, he had put a fence up, a tin fence. And so I finally got him to do that. And then when I asked him to do something, he said he's out of the country. So he's going to, I guess where he's from, whatnot, he can have more than 2 or 3 wives. And so he said one of his wives is sick and whatnot. So I had to go with that. There's nothing I can do. And so long story short, ladies and gentlemen, when I talked to her, she said I couldn't do it. So I finally got him, convinced him to move the cars. And I told the people that's renting the property, don't give him any more money until everything is under code. And he's 38 hard about that. And I told him, I said, the money, the tenants are all right. They can't even enjoy the property out there. The property is pretty large. I went and called Seminole County, and I'm changing it over from I wanted to change it over from a one family to duplexes, because I see the area is growing since the change station there. So I just wanted to add more to it and whatnot, and because and name it after my grandmother. This is Sadie Place. But little did I know that all this was adding up, because I didn't come out and just visually, watched it, looked at it. Thank God for her that she let me know, but the fines had started. And there was no way I could come into the court and ask, what am I legally to do? Right now, the cars are gone, but the stuff is there, whatnot, and I like to know, can I go and move it? Because if I can move it, it'll be gone tomorrow. Because I will hire somebody with a dump truck and everything. I have a dump trailer to come out, but this guy, Nadine Mir, I have to get his permission. I didn't understand that, to move some of the furniture and the mattresses. People can't even come out their back door and enjoy the landscaping, because he got a mattress sitting on the back of the door and everything like that. And I said, well, I moved the cars and whatnot, so tell the people to start back paying. I said, but you're not in compliance. You still got debris out there. But Sergeant Bluebecker said I had to get his permission. So I'm thinking, ladies and gentlemen, do I need to get a petition to no trespass him? But then if I do that, this is his stuff. So how could I get the stuff off with his permission?
Unfortunately, this board can't give you legal advice.
I concur with that. But that's where I'm at.
You're like an attorney.
I did, right before I came here, I asked for advice. They said, well, okay, we'll give you some advice, but it's $275 to give you some legal advice. I said, all I want to know is just, can I, take charge of this? It's my property and everything. Well, but we still have to charge you. I said, no, I'm going to turn this over to, Jehovah Jireh, my provider, which is God. I'm just turning it over and throw my hands in the mercy of the court. Y'all, please consider of giving me some time, or you don't have to say, hey, well, legally you're supposed to do this. I don't talk in my sleep. I ain't gonna say nothing. This is it. This is us. We home.
Do you have a pen handy? Let me give you a number here that was just given to me by our legal counsel.
You can give them that piece of paper.
Okay, well, I'll give you this before you leave here. It's a number for legal aid. Who might even talk to you. Their phone number's right there, might help you out. There are things you can do, I think, instead of waiting to actually if he's not giving you the permission, you can, notify him, all this kind of stuff. But they'll tell you how to do that, but you can at least start moving forward instead of sitting.
Right, exactly, because I'm just sitting down there and I'm looking at it, and some of my grandmother's friends and whatnot, they come by, they say, Sadie would never let this yard get like this. And I said, you're right. But thank God for this, then maybe I can move forward and whatnot and just get their dump truck and just come on out and just get that stuff out. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the place is very nice. The landscaping can be beautiful. You understand? But right now, the law is present. And so I don't want to step beyond that. I'm already in hot water with Officer Hearn.
All right, let's get focused back on to matter 02, which is the one that's in compliance.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Bass, you have something?
I make a motion on 02, 820-02, that we accept Officer Hearn's recommendation as presented, but reduce the fine to administrative cost and to be paid within 30 days, which we'll just make that June 30th.
Yes, sir.
All right?
All right.
Who's second? Mr. Peterson. Motion by Mr. Bass, second by Mr. Peterson on case number 20-02 CB to accept staff's recommendation, reducing the cost to administrative cost of $549.21 to be paid by June 30th, or it reverts back to the original amount of $12,300.
That's fair.
Okay. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's what we've done on that one. That's the one that's in compliance. And now the other one, somebody have something on this one?
So your options here are to follow through with staff's recommendation, which is basically to place a lien on the property. And unfortunately, it's still out of compliance, so the fine would continue to accrue. Or you can choose to not put a lien on the property and let the fine continue to accrue, but perhaps give him a deadline to try to bring the property into compliance. And then once the property is in compliance, the fine can be readdressed. Or if he fails to come into compliance by your deadline, then the lien can be filed.
Which would basically be tabling this if we were to go the route to give time would be to table this.
Continue the matter.
Mr. Bass.
I move that we continue this until our next board meeting, July 22nd.
Motion by Mr. Bass to continue this to July 22nd board meeting, second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So that's what we've done. July 22nd, you have to get something moving on this other case.
Okay, no problem.
Appreciate everything you've done at this point.
Every day is, the clock's ticking every day, though.
Okay, I'm
So we're done with your case.
So now,
She'll explain.
I'm not
it to
saying that you've given me permission,
No.
but can I go and just do something on there myself? Because he
Call
he
legal
dropping the
services.
ball.
Call legal.
That's the legal aid number.
Oh, okay.
Talk to lawyers.
I'm excited, okay? All right, now just get something.
We're all hoping the answer is yes.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just saying, we family right now.
All right. We got two more folks in here. Let's go.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Oh,
you.
pleasure's mine. So, okay, I'll talk to Doc.
Tell her she can have it.
Doc, Lord have mercy. I'm calling you a doctor now. Yeah.
Okay, brings us to the next case, which is on page 18, case 20-03, Delwyn D. Litchfield, 3201 Sand Lake Road, Longwood, Florida, 32779.
You okay? You okay? I know.
And if you could state your name for the record, sir, once you get comfortable there.
My name is Kenneth Bean,
Your relationship to the case, sir?
attorney at law.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, who do you represent?
Mr. Delwyn Lynchfield.
Thank you.
Okay, Officer Hurd.
Dorothy Hurd, South Region Code Enforcement Officer for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. This is case number 20-03 CEB Delwyn D. Litchfield. The property address is 3201 Sand Lake Road in Longwood. This case was originally heard by the Code Enforcement Board on January 23, 2020, and an order was entered giving the respondents a compliance date of February 7. An affidavit of noncompliance was filed by the Code Enforcement Officer after inspection on February 10. An affidavit of compliance was filed by the Code Enforcement Officer after re-inspection on May 11. Based on the findings and facts, conclusions of law and order issued on January 23, 2020, the Code Board issued an order reducing the fine to the administrative. I'm asking the board to issue the fine, reduce the fine to administrative costs totaling $386.57 and require these costs to be paid within 30 days, or the fine will revert back to the original amount of $1,950 and constitute a lien on the property. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. And that's basically the remaining of what needed to be cut at the last inspection. So I've never talked to the property owner, but I have talked to, I think He's the gentleman that I met out there.
Probably, yes. I remember meeting some deputies now, whether it was you or someone else, yes.
Okay, but thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Hurd? Seeing none, Mr. Bean, this is your opportunity to present.
Well, of course, I have no objections to what the recommendation is here, but I do have a curiosity. Who signed the post office return mail receipt for the notice, the board meeting on January 23? Did I or somebody else?
She's looking.
Because I know I came up here one time and there was no meeting. And then I've been getting...
It would have been scheduled for 1/28/21, and nobody signed for it. I did not get it back.
Yeah, because someone else could have been picking up a mail, or it was before I was picking up mail, I'm not sure which. But anyway, I've been doing a lot of cutting and weeding in the meantime, since I retired as being a lawyer.
Okay, any questions or motion?
That answers my question about why I didn't know about this fine, because I got a letter later on in which they were recommending something very similar to this.
Right.
Move to accept the staff recommendation and accept the administrative cost of $386.57 to be paid within 30 days, or the fine will revert to the original amount of $1,950.
Second that.
Motion by Mr. Bates, second by Mr. Peterson to accept staff's recommendation, which would be reducing the fine to $386.57 to be paid by June 6, 2021, or it reverts back to the $1,950.
By what date?
He said 30 days, so the calendar says June 26. I mean, do you want to go June?
26. I thought you said June 6th. Sorry.
If I did, I'm sorry. June 26, 2021 would be 30 days. And not paid by then reverts back to the $1,950, and subsequent fines would, it's in compliance.
It would constitute a lien.
Yeah, it would constitute a lien. Thank you. All in favor? Did I get, I'm losing track here, folks. It's getting late. You got a first and second? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's what we've done. Administrative cost, $386.57 to be paid by June 26
And I'm going to pay it today.
this year. Thank you for your patience today, and thanks for coming out.
That was going to be my other recommendations. Over in the circuit courts, typically if it's a short matter, they take them first.
Yeah, we never know what's going to be short or not here. So.
Especially when you have an attorney on the other side.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to the next case, which is on page 19. It's case number 20-10-CEB, Michael Diaz, 572 Fordham Avenue, Altamont Springs, 32714. Looks like you're our last in-person, so I'll say in advance, thank you for your patience, sir. Your name, please?
Michael Diaz.
And you've been sworn in?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And whenever you're ready, Officer Hill.
Officer Hill, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. This is a lien hearing for case 2010 CEB. Located at 572 Fordham Avenue, violation charge in Seminole County Code Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3F, which is stagnant pool. The initial inspection was on July 30th, 2018, with notice to respondents. Based on the findings of fact, conclusion of law and order issued on January 23rd, 2020, let me back up, excuse me. The case was originally heard by the board on January 23rd, 2020, and an order was entered giving the respondent a compliance date of February 14th, 2020. An affidavit of noncompliance was filed by myself after reinspection on February 17th, 2020. An affidavit of compliance was filed by myself after reinspection on February 24th, 2020. Based on the findings of fact, conclusions of law and order issued on January 23rd, 2020, I was going going to ask to have the cost reduced to admin costs. When I posted the property on May 10th of 2021 for this lien hearing, I observed that the pool was again in repeat violation, and I filed an affidavit of repeat violation with the clerk, which will be heard at a later date. So now I'm asking that a lien be placed in the amount of $2,250.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Hill? Seeing none, Mr. Diaz, this is your opportunity to respond to the violation.
I would argue that it was in compliance. The issue that I was understanding is that the stagnant water is a breeding ground for mosquitoes and algae, but the water's been disinfected for the entire time since our last hearing, and I drain it out every couple of months. The leaves are bleached white because there's so much bleach in that water. There's no mosquitoes, there's no pests as far as insects because there's no bugs back there. That's the first thing, and the pool's been drained, and it's drained every couple of months. In fact, it was drained a couple of weeks ago, so there's only like a handful of water which is full of bleach. I'm not sure when she was last back there because there's actually hardly any water in there right now, and every couple of months I drain it out. That on top of the fact that after our last hearing, I was required by my insurance carrier to replace all of the electrical wiring in my home and the plumbing in my home. So I've just finished doing all that, so that's been a financial burden, but the entire time I have made sure that either that water has been drained out or there is so much chlorine in there, both liquid and powder, that nothing can exist. So I'm not sure why. Those photos are all from 2019, 2020, when we had our last hearing. The water is now nearly gone, and it has been. But even when it was there, the leaves that fall from the trees are bone white from so much bleach in that pool that there is no way anything could live, organisms otherwise.
Were you able to get a photo when you were up there?
It's on my laptop in my truck, but, which I can have Officer Bavaro get it if we need to. But I will testify that when I posted the property on May 10th, the pool was very similar to this condition as you see it now. When I went out yesterday, it's 3/4 of the way drained, and I was told by a neighbor he just did it Tuesday night. So he's waiting to the last minute again to try and come into compliance. So when this case was initially heard and he was in violation, he had a pool company come out and they drained some water and they started treating it because he was supposed to have the pool pump, according to the pool company, Orca Pools, that he was going to get a new pool pump. Let me see, I have the I just want to get the name correct. Give me a second. I spoke with Christopher Meek. He is with Orca Pools, and he had told me that that the drain mechanism had not been installed yet, and it wasn't there to drain the pool completely, but it was just Mr. Diaz's assumption that that's what it was for. But it was just to keep the groundwater from coming into the shell of the pool, to keep it from popping out of the ground. He stated that he would stay in contact with me, but right then they were just shocking the pool just to keep the water clear and to keep it from becoming a breeding ground for algae and mosquitoes. Mr. Meek had said that he had a contract to start work on Mr. Diaz's pool in 2 months, and this at the time was February 17th, 2020, and that if Mr. Diaz did not go forward with the contract for the pump, he was going to just seal the drain and refill the pool, and that's what happened. Mr. Diaz backed out of that, and Mr. Meek contacted me and told me that there was no pump replacement or fixing of the pump. So when I went back out for the inspection when I posted the property on May 10th, the pool was back in repeat violation. It was full, and it was stagnant. Just as of on Wednesday, the neighbor had said he started draining it Tuesday night and started treating it with chlorine and I think he said baking soda or something like that. But that doesn't bring the property into compliance. This is not going to fix the issue. We're going to keep coming back repeat after repeat because the pool is not circulating or not completely drained and covered with a professional tarp.
Ms. Bass?
Officer Hill, can you expand upon that and give us the exact, what needs to be done to bring the pool in compliance? Does the pool pump have to be working? It's not just a matter of having water that nothing can live in? Is that correct?
Correct. So originally, when I met with Mr. Diaz when this case first opened, he said the pool pump worked. He just didn't have the money to keep having the pool pump running, so he was just keeping it shut off. And so then later on, it came out that it needed to be fixed or replaced. So he's got two choices. He can completely drain the pool and get a professional tarp measured and screwed down into the concrete, or he needs to get that pump replaced or fixed and have the pool water circulating so it does not become a breeding ground for mosquitoes, etc. Just dumping chlorine in there and at the moment killing everything in it is not going to keep it that way. That is just a temporary Band-Aid fix.
That is not bringing it in compliance at all?
Correct.
By doing that? Thank you.
Thank you for all the additional information. Any other questions?
I have something to say.
Go ahead, sir.
I find it odd that he said that my neighbors are saying anything because it wasn't a Tuesday, it was a Sunday, and I have evidence, I have receipts showing when I purchased the pump and returned it, so it was impossible. It was on a Tuesday before the inspection. I'm not sure when you came out to inspect it.
I was out there on Wednesday, and I saw, on Wednesday, and I saw
I'm
that
sorry, I
you had
wasn't-
drained the pool 3/4 of the way. There was still stagnant water in the deep end of the pool.
Right. But as far as them refilling the pool, they have never refilled the pool. Any water that was in the pool would have been from rain, and then I've kept it bleached, and then I would have it drained. So, no, that's
That
incorrect.
photo right there is very similar to what I witnessed on May 10th of this year.
Do you have a current photo?
I do in my truck.
Okay, if you can get that, because I know for a
No,
fact
we
it
don't
was
need that,
never...
sir. That's up
They
for
were
us.
rungs of the ladder, they were
Okay, and you
visible.
can
They
address
were
the
outside
board
of the
and-
water, so
You
there's
can
no
see the
way
black
that was...
mold all the way around.
Anything else to offer?
Other than the fact that I had to spend over $10,000 in a year to have my electrical taken care of and my water, that's where all the money's been going. Now that that's out of the way, I can go ahead and start worrying about the pool. But in order to keep my mortgage, I had to take care of the electrical. I had to have insurance on the home. So I had to take care of the electrical, I had to take care of the plumbing. So, and if you're asking for $2,200, then it will be a while for me to get that money, and it will only delay the repairs to the pool.
And I spoke to the clerk this morning. She said Mr. Diaz has been calling every month since January to find out how much more time he had to come into compliance.
That is
So-
incorrect. You're talking about Pat, and I have all my calls on my phone. I called her every 8 months, to which, oh, yes, okay, you have all the calls?
It's
I have all
not
the
really relevant,
calls.
sir. And
Well,
so-
I mean, if you're going to sit there and talk about my character, saying that I call her every single month trying to figure out when it's going to happen,
Do you have
that
anything
is false.
relative to...
That is false.
To whether or not we place a lien on this and for how much today? I think we're ready to...
Everything I've stated was relative. I'm basically I'm trying to treat it and take care of it the best I know how. I'm limited with my funds, and unfortunately, I had no choice but to spend a lot of my funds to deal with electrical issues and issues that the insurance company
Just for the record of my notes, all right, when she started talking, the first notice to you was in July of 2018, so that's 3 years ago. So
I'm
that's...
talking about from the hearing, sir. I'm talking about from our last hearing in 2020.
Okay, well, I'm talking about how long the violations existed. So is the board, anybody have a motion or discussion?
I make a motion that we accept Officer Hill's recommendation as presented in
Motion by
filing.
Mr. Bass, second by Mr. Wolfram to accept staff's recommendation as presented, which would be placing a lien for $2,250 on the property with fines. Well, they would stop there, and then the new violation would address the new fines, I believe.
When we see another.
Will be readdressed at the next hearing.
Next hearing.
Okay.
It should be July or August.
Okay, all understand the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's what we've done. We have followed staff's recommendation, and there is a lien on the property that will be instituted. Thank you for your time today.
All right, Mr. Chairman,
Break?
please. I think we count 17 cases left with no respondents present. Is that right, Pat?
11.
11.
11. We've done 19.
Yeah, roughly
11.
That's exactly.
All right, we need to take a break, if you don't mind.
I was thinking, there must be a birthday cake out there, because I'm sure I've had a birthday since all this started.
When's your birthday?
I don't know, but I'm sure it's already happened.
This is probably one of the longest meetings we've had.
It is, to my recollection.
By my recollection. How long can you give us, Mr. Chairman?
We're not breaking
What
up,
do we
are
need?
we?
5, 10, 15?
No smoking.
Call it
15.
15.
Thank you.
Thank you. Helicopter was on that guy. I know a lot of work with him.
Yes, it did. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
We will reconvene, and we'll start with case 19-30 CEB Kenneth J. Lima II, 317 Oakhurst Street, Altamont Springs, 32701. Officer Hurd.
Okay, Dorothy Hurd, South Region Code Enforcement Officer for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. This is case number 1930 CEB, Kenneth J. Lima II. The property address is 317 Oakhurst Street, and the violation charge was uncultivated vegetation. The case was originally heard by the Code Enforcement Board on February 28, 2019, and an order was entered finding that the violation had occurred but was in compliance. The order stated that should the violation be repeated, a fine of $50 per day be imposed. An affidavit of repeat violation was filed by myself after re-inspection on February 3rd, 2020. An affidavit of compliance on a repeat violation was filed by myself after re-inspection on February 24th, 2020. For the record, I have submitted a copy of the presentation to the clerk as presented. Based on the findings and facts, inclusion of law and order issued on February 28, 2019, the Code Enforcement Board issued an order reducing the fine. I'm asking the board to issue an order reducing the fine amount of $900 to administrative costs totaling $364.55 and require these costs to be paid within 30 days or a fine will accrue and revert the original amount, constitute a lien on the property. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Any questions for Officer Hurd?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I believe I need to abstain from this matter.
Do you have a direct monetary benefit that may derive from this?
I own the property next door.
I don't know if that would cost me. I
And
don't know if you have to.
I don't want to vote on my neighbor who, I need to abstain from.
Okay. It's my understanding you'd have to fill out a form to do that, is that correct?
There's a form that has to be filled out, so we'll get that form to her on this matter. Okay?
So Ms.
Okay.
Patton will not be voting on this matter?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other?
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead, sir.
I make a motion to go with the officer's recommendation on this of 19-30 CEB.
Motion on the floor is a second.
Second.
Yeah, a motion by Mr. Wolfram, second by Mr. Bates, to accept staff's recommendation to accept it as presented and reduce the fine to administrative cost of $364.55, and if it's not paid in full, that it would revert back to the original lien. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is page 3, 19-152 CEB, Roberto Infante, 33622 Latia Drive, Apopka, Florida, 32703, Officer Hill.
Officer Hill, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, Code Enforcement. This is case 19-152 CEB, Roberto Infante, located at 3622 Leota Drive in Apopka. The case was originally heard by the Code Enforcement Board on September 26, 2019, and an order was entered giving the respondent compliance date of October 10, 2019. An affidavit of compliance was filed by myself after reinspection on October 11, 2019, and an affidavit of repeat violation was filed by myself after reinspection on March 2nd, 2020. I had received a complaint, and that's what generated the reinspection due to the property owner. His RV was parked to the left of the property and it caught fire, which led catching the house on fire. So there was rubbish. There was rubbish from the fire, but then he also started to do construction, unpermitted construction on the house. So the unpermitted construction was forwarded to the building department, and they opened up their own case. So because he did not have a permit for all the debris that he's pulling out of the house, he didn't have any permits to do so. That's what started the whole repeat violation process. I did speak this morning with Inspector Vicky Hathaway with the building department. He now does have a building permit as of, I believe it was the 19th, she said. And so now that he does have the permit, any rubbish that comes from that, we just overlook because that's part of repairing the house. But he does have other violations such as the tree debris. Can you go back? He has tree debris, he has tires, he has this AC window mirrors, he has an old stove out there, and just other scattered trash, water bottles, etc. I did see Mr. Infante back, I believe it was around March or so, and he said he was still working on the permits, and I told him he needed to get this taken care of because we were getting multiple complaints during COVID, to the point where I stated you need to contact your commissioner, because at that time we were tolling. So there's been multiple complaints, and in fact I have to contact one of the complainants after this to tell her what happened here. So I am asking the board to impose a lien in the amount of $10,200 for 102 days of noncompliance, and the fine shall continue to accrue at $100 per day for each day the violation continues. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Hill? Is there a motion? Any discussion? Motion?
Move to accept the recommendation of officer for the lien of $10,200 for 102 days of noncompliance, fine continuing at $100 a day for each day. The violation continues after May 27th.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Bates, second by Mr. Wolfram. I think it was clearly stated what the motion was by Mr. Bates. Is anybody understand the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Going on to the next item is 19-153 CEB, Theodore D. Atkins at 440 Forest Lake Drive, Altamont Springs, Florida 32714. Officer Hill.
Officer Hill, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. This is case 19-153 CEB. Respondent is Theodore Akins, located at 440 Forest Lake Drive in Altamont Springs. This case was originally heard by the Code Enforcement Board on September 25th, 2019, and an order was entered giving the respondent a compliance date of November 10th, 2019. An affidavit of compliance was filed by myself after reinspection on November 13th, 2019, and an affidavit of repeat violation was filed by the Code Enforcement Officer after reinspection on February 19th, 2020. So I was out there yesterday. If you can back up just a little bit, Dorothy. So he has, sometimes he'll have it mowed partially, but then if you go to yesterday's inspections, you'll see that there's no weed eating done. Like on the left, you'll see the backyard. It looks great, but then the same tree is in the backyard as well, and you have the high grass growing up around it. In the next slides, it shows the high grass behind against the house. And then in the next slide, I believe, yep, this is underneath a big oak tree. He doesn't mow up underneath the big oak tree either. So based on the findings and fact and conclusions of law and order issued on September 26, 2019, the Code Enforcement Board issued an order imposing a lien in the amount of $5,700 for 114 days of noncompliance from February 19, 2020 through and including March 17, 2020 and March 3, 2021 through and including May 27, 2021, and the fine shall continue to accrue at $50 per day. The violation continues. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Hill? Any discussion or motion?
I make a motion that we accept the officer's recommendation to impose that lien. $700.
Is there a second?
I second.
Officer by Ms. Peterson, second by Mr. Wolfram, to accept Officer Hill's recommendations as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next item is 20-40-CEB, Richard J. Wrangler, trustee for 2450 Derbyshire Road, Maitland, Florida 32741. Officer Hurd.
Dorothy Hurd, South Region Code Enforcement Officer for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. This is case 2040 CEB, Richard J. Wrangler, and I'm presenting a copy of this presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case 2040 CEB, Richard J. Wangler. Initial inspection on this property, the violation charge, is stagnant or foul water within the swimming pool. The property is 2450 Derbyshire Road. Initial inspection is August 19, 2019. Notices to the respondent 9/16 and 10/16/19. Compliance date 9/27/11/119. And my final inspection was made by alert, and the stagnant or foul water remained in the swimming pool. This photo was taken by myself on October 14, 2019. This photo was taken by alert on February 2020. This photo was taken May 11, 2021, where I posted the property. This photo was taken on May 25th by alert, where he had drained it down. Actually, I found out that the son had drained it down to that portion. I talked to him this morning. The suggested recommendation is based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case. Richard Wangler is the owner of the property located at 2450 Derbyshire, in possession of control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 to Finding 95.3F. I'm asking the board to issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of June 11, 2021 by removing and or treating the remaining stagnant water in the pool, or a fine of $250 per day be imposed. Now, I've been in contact with Mr. Wangler up until, I want to say, sometime last year, and the last time I was there, he was upset and he slammed the door in my face, and I haven't seen him since. I've been going by periodically, and I'll knock on the door and no answer. But when I talked to his son this morning, he's been in the hospital, I guess, the past week or so. He broke his hip, and he had a partial hip replacement. The son said he didn't know any of this was going on, but he has been made aware of it. He said that this date is good as far as getting the remaining water out and treating it. And I told him that once this, if the board decides, okay, well, yes, that's a violation, then he needs to make sure that any water that's in there, once it fills back up, it needs to be moving and clear. And he's going to, I guess, he said he moved like about 2,000 pounds of leaves and debris out of the bottom of that pool. So he's still got some of that in the bottom, the deep end. And he is going to take care of it for his dad. He's not sure if his dad's going to be able to come back there right away because he has to go under some type of rehab. But he is all right with this this date, and he knows what he needs to do as far as the pool. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Since the next one is the same respondent, if you could read that one as well, 20-41-CUB.
Okay. Dorothy Hurd, South Region Code Enforcement Officer for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. For the record, I'm going to submit a copy of this presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case number 2041 CEB, Richard J. Wangler. The property address is 2450 Derbyshire Road. The violation charge is uncultivated vegetation. Initial inspection on this property for the vegetation was observed on October 14, 2019, with a notice to the respondent on 10/16, compliance date 11/1. And when I posted the property on May 11th, the property had been cut. This is just going to be some images that I took from October 14th to the 11th. This one's done on October 14th. This was done on 2/20 of 2020. This is where I posted it. The property has been cut, but I just need to get an order because no one for a while will possibly be living there. And I did tell the son that he needs to make sure that he keeps the property cut, and he is aware of it. Based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case, Richard Wangler is the owner of record at 2450 Derbyshire Road, located in Seminole County, in possession or control of the property, and was in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3B. I'm asking the board to issue an order that the respondent did correct the violation on or before midnight of May 11th by removing the uncultivated vegetation in excess of 8 inches in height. But if the respondent repeats this violation, a $50 per day be imposed for each day the violation continues after compliance. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Any questions for Officer Hurd on either of those cases?
Yes, it said May 11th.
In that last case, your compliance date was May 11th, but it was, I guess that.
It was in compliance on May
Yeah, May
11th.
11th.
So if it's repeated after,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yes, sir. Okay.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion on 20-40, start with that one.
Okay, fine. Make a motion on that.
Second. To accept, accept recommendations? Sorry.
The motion was made by Ms. Peterson, and seconded by Ms. Patton to accept staff's recommendation. I think this is what your motion was, as presented. And all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
He
opposed?
sent it
Thank-
out telepathly, and I
just-
received
we
it, and
knew
I
it. We-
said, yes,
the connect-
let's
we have a-
move on.
We have a connection on this board. I love it. I love it. So next item is 20-41. Is there a motion?
To accept staff's recommendation.
Perfect.
Seconded.
Great. We have a motion on that by Ms. Peterson and second by Ms. Patton to accept staff's recommendation as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to item number 20-58-CEB, George and Shirley Reed, 106 Plymouth Avenue, Altamont Spring, Florida, 32701. Officer Hurd.
Dorothy Hurd, South Region Code Enforcement Officer for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. For the record, I'm submitting a copy of this presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case number 20-58 CEB, George Reed and Shirley Reed. The violation address is 111 Plymouth Avenue in Altamont Springs, Florida. Violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3A, which is basically rubbish. Initial inspection was October 15, 2019, with 10 notices to the respondent October 30th and November 19. Compliance date 11/15 and 12/6. My last inspection was on May 25th, and the rubbish remained on the property. This is passing the back of his house. I could see a trailer. I could see it much better, but I could see it over the fence because I'm tall enough, but I don't like to take pictures over the fence. So it's got tires and stuff like that. This was taken on October 30th, 2019. This was taken November 18, 2019. These photos were taken on May 25th, 2020. 2020, I'm sorry, and there's just all types of scrap, it's car parts, and it's just a lot of stuff. These photos were taken on July 8th, 2020. He had pretty much cleaned up the backyard. He just had that trailer, and then there was some stuff, a little bit of stuff piled up on July 8th. But on May 25th, it looked like this. He's just, and he said, oh no, this is the same stuff that was there when you were here the last. I said, no, Mr. Reed, that's a lot more debris. Well, the pile on the left, he said, is going. The furniture, he just buried his daughter, so they took that furniture out of the house to put some more in. Next photo. This is up on the side of his house. He said, well, I'm going through that pile, picture on the right, I'm going through that pile, and I'm going to put it back here where the other pile was, and all that's going to be gone. I said, I told him the date. I gave him an extra week because I was doing July 11th. He said, okay, I promise you it's all going to be gone. The thing on the left picture, he said he's going to cut that up. Somebody was supposed to come and get it, but they never did, so he's going to cut all that up and have it removed. Based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case, George Reed and Shirley Reed are the owner of the property at 106 Plymouth Avenue in Seminole County in possession of control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3A. I'm asking the board to issue an order for the respondents to correct the violation on or before midnight of June 18, 2021 by removing the accumulation of rubbish from the property. If the respondent does not comply, a fine of $100 per day be imposed. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Is there any question for Officer Hurd? Is there any discussion or motion?
Motion to accept recommendation of the officer.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Patton, and seconded by Mr. Peterson to accept Officer Hurd's recommendation as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next item is 20-61, 61-CEB, Steve A. and Nathaniel Gillison, 3300 Lincoln Street, Sanford, Florida, 32771. Also Barbera.
Hey, Officer Barrow, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. For the record, I have submitted a copy of this PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case 2061, Stephen A. Gilson, Nathaniel Gilson, and Carl Rogers Jr. Property is located at 3300 Lincoln Street. Violation charge of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.3 is defined in 95.4 is defined in 95.3A, which is rubbish. Initial inspection was on 5/15/2019. Notice was issued 11/22/2019. There was a major gap there because there was a change in ownership. Most recent inspection on 5/26 revealed that the violation remained on the property. Images you're about to see accurately depict the violations on the dates in which it was taken. 11/20/2019, showing the rubbish in the front. The tires were some kind of barrier, rubbish, and then a fence that was rubbish just leaned up against another fence. On 4/21, fence has fallen down, rubbish on the ground. The fence remains in the same condition. There's a burn pile with rubbish in it as well. This is why I posted the property on 5/13/2021. And then another inspection on 5/26. Most, I would say 95%, 95 to 98% of the rubbish has been cleaned. Based on the testimony and evidence presented in case 2061 CEB, it's determined that Stephen A. Gilson, Nathaniel Gilson, and Carl Rogers Jr. are the owners of record of the property located at 3300 Lincoln Street, in possession and control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95. Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B. Request the board issue an order for compliance on June 10, 2021. In order to comply, they must remove the rubbish from the property and fine at $50 a day. I did have a conversation recently after the posting on 5/26 where one of the owners said he wanted to be here. He's working in Tampa. He would request 3 weeks to comply with both violations. My opinion, I think he can do it quicker than that. But let's go to the other presentation and you can see.
Yeah.
So Vincent Barr, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement. For the record, I've submitted a copy of this PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit 1. This is case 2062 CEB, Stephen A. Gilson, Nathaniel Gilson, and Carl Rogers Jr. Property is located at 3300 Lincoln Street. Violation charge of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B, which is uncultivated vegetation. First inspection was on 5/15/2019 and notice on 11/22/2019. Most recent inspection date on 5/26/2021 revealed that the violation remained. Images you're about to see accurately depict the violations on the dates in which they were taken. This one 11/20/2019 showing the vegetation. Another one on 12/11/2019 showing the grass. Another one on 12/11/2019, 4/21/2020. On 5/13/2021, posting of the property, and then the most recent being on 5/26. Again, the only vegetation that remains is a little bit on the left side of the house, and then on that left picture, all the way in the back, there's a couple little spots that you missed with a weed whacker that remain. So based on the testimony and evidence presented in this case, 2062 CEB has determined that the respondents are the owner of record at the property located at 3300 Lincoln Street, in possession and control of the property and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B. Request the board issue an order for compliance on June 10, 2021. In order to comply, they must remove all vegetation in excess of 8 inches of height or a fine of $50 a day be imposed. Concludes my presentation.
You think it can be done within that time frame?
I think, yeah, I mean, there's barely anything left. So once those trash bags are removed, that pretty much ends the rubbish, and then there's a couple of little spots of grass, which I already told him was a concern. I said, yeah, I'll go and recommend 2 weeks. He's like, can I have 3? And I said, well, I recommend 2. I'll tell the board that you requested 3.
Any other questions for Officer Rivera?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the officer's recommendation on 2061 CED.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wolfram, seconded by Mr. Bates, to accept Officer Rivera's recommendation as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And then case number 20-62.
Move officer's recommendation.
I second.
Motion made by Mr. Bates and seconded by Ms. Wolfram to accept Officer Vivero's recommendation as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we are down the stretch here. We're down to number 20-14 CEB, Carrie E. Dietz, 140 Ronnie Road, Drive, Altamont Springs, Florida, 32714. Officer Hurd.
Page we on?
We're on page 20.
What page we on, sir?
20, I'm sorry. Page 20, go.
So are these the two consent items? Pat, are these the two consent items?
Yes, they could be.
Okay, so the items on page 20 and 21 are lien requests, and unless something has changed from what was written into the agenda that you would like to speak on.
No, ma'am.
Respondents were properly noticed. They're not here, so you can handle them as consent items.
Okay.
And be done.
Okay, so we have item number 20-14 CEB and 20-39 CEB is on the consent agenda items, so we can handle those at one time. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Wolframe, what that means is basically the respondents were notified, they knew of the request, and they're not present, so there appears to be no objection. These are lien items, and so you can read the recommendation, and that's basically what you'd be approving. So you don't have to have a full-blown hearing, but you can always, if you'd like, we could have a hearing with the officers.
Anybody can, just so y'all understand, anybody can pull something off the consent agenda if you so choose. Any member can do that by themselves. So otherwise, we'll handle them together as a consent agenda. Mr. Peterson? You made the motion to approve the consent agenda? Okay.
Exactly.
Is there a second?
I second.
We got a motion by Mr. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Wolfram to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. So that concludes our, any outstanding items, unless we missed something. Does everybody agree with that? We're good with that? So, the next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes for April 22nd, 2021. Is there a motion to do that?
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Wolfram and second by Mr. Peterson to approve the minutes of April 22nd, 2021. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Confirm our next meeting. We're not meeting in June. Our next meeting is July the 22nd of 2021. Is there any other business for the good of the order?
I think I saw that there was a request to review proposed dates.
Approval of the proposed 2021 dates.
We looked at those last
They're
month.
okay. So they're in the beginning of, let's see, they're in the first tab in your book, I believe.
Well, last month, they were just kind of in the very front of your book, and then we asked you to take that home and just to make sure to your office and make sure that those dates were okay. They
So-
continue to be the fourth Thursday of each month, starting at 1:30.
With the exception of November, there is no hearing, so therefore the hearing for December is the first Thursday of December.
Okay, just to read them, next meeting is July 22nd, next August 26th, September 23rd, October 28th, December the 2nd. Does that meet with everyone's approval? Hearing none,
Yeah, if you know that you're going to be out, just let us know in advance so that we make sure we've got quorum, but otherwise, take those back to your offices and your calendars,
It's
please.
I think you can just pull this first
Yeah, you
sheet
can
out,
have that
can't you?
sheet.
So then you just pull that sheet out if you'd like to.
You approve those dates?
So we're done with that. Any other business for the good of the order?
It's July 22nd, not 23rd, correct?
22nd, that's correct. It'll be your Thursday.
Rest of them are good?
Yes, sir. Hearing nothing else, we stand adjourned.